for Jonathan Taylor. There he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. I-N-D-Y.
The Eastern Conference Championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Pillow wins the 109th Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
A Wednesday that feels like a Friday. A happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. Thank you for closing out. I guess maybe you aren't closing out your week, but we're closing out our week here on The Fan. It is an absolutely loaded Wednesday show for you. We'll have plenty of football action, basketball action. We'll throw some Thanksgiving your way. And a lot of guests as well. Mark Dykton, let's reward right here in the spirit of the holiday season. How about another 4-pack to go see the Bulldogs coming up on Friday afternoon? Thad Matta will join us here at 8:30. It's Butler Wright States at 2 o'clock on Friday. Mark, you want to go text line? You want to go phone line? What's easiest for you?
Well, I'd say text line at the moment because we're dealing with some programming issues. So let's go text line.
317-239-1070. Shoot us a text, simply Bulldogs in the text. You text Bulldogs, Mark Dykton will pick out a winner, name, and email, and 4-pack of tickets to go see Butler coming up on Friday. James Boyd, hoops were on your agenda last night, were they not?
Yes, they were. So I had to go back and rewatch IU and Kansas State because I went to Ben Davis Fishers at Ben Davis last night, boys basketball season opener, and it was a good game. Very good game. Shout out to Tyler and Bryson who are on the call for the Ben Davis Giants. And I believe Tyler actually goes to Cascade, so he told me to wish him good luck when it comes to their football program.
A little 3A action coming up Friday afternoon for Cascade.
But I enjoyed
right?
it, man. It was good. Rake was there calling the game. Didn't get a chance to talk to him. We'll talk to him
Fishers
today.
pulled it out?
Yes, they did. They were down at the half by 1, pulled it out because that's what they usually do in those moments. But I think both teams are going to be very good this year, and it felt kind of like a playoff game there for a second. So nice early hoops action to usher in, I feel like, another part of our sports calendar.
Yeah, Greg Rakestraw, of course, will join us, the busiest man on Thanksgiving week. He will join us coming up here. I think he's on the TV call for Butler on Friday. So Rake will join us. We'll talk some Colts with Stephen Holder. I know James Boyd has dropped the T word when it comes to the Pacers and not Thanksgiving. That would be, it rhymes with spank. I don't know why spank is
a little risque this morning.
a word that I choose. Well, you know what tonight is.
You care to explain?
Tonight you head back to your old hometown there. You venture out to the local watering hole, and oh boy, I didn't know she looked like that these days.
Yeah, it's been a few of those in your life.
You know, I always had a crush on you back in the day. You know, you maybe dropped that.
You know, I
line
was
or
immature.
two.
You know, I was talking too much on basketball and grades. How you doing?
Something along those lines. I believe J&V will be at Brothers and Broad Rip. We'll certainly have a Black Wednesday or two to remember from there.
Or not remember.
Everybody safe travels in what is one of the busier travel days of the entire year. But as James said, hoops last night down in Bloomington. Very impressed once again by Darren DeVries' bunch. Right out of the gate, it looked like a 3-point contest. They built a huge early lead. And then the second half, after Kansas State had countered a little bit, then they built a lead kind of in a different way by a little bit more driving, getting to the foul line. So, you know, I think what we've grown used to with this team so far is maybe the label of it's 3 points or bust. You know, that sort of aspect to them. And I think last night they proved an ability to build, maintain leads in other ways, and their defense. We talked about it yesterday. Kansas State was one of the highest scoring teams in all of college basketball. Indiana holds them to 69 last night. Very impressive, again, in building leads in a couple different ways from Darren DeVries and company.
Absolutely. You know what? I think of like 3-point contests and shooting competitions and stuff like that, and Lamar Wilkerson has to be up there. The guy can just flat out shoot the basketball. When they got the steal early in the game, and he just stops the transition, I think it might have been a 2-on-1 or 3-on-2, and normally in a basketball setting or basketball practice, your coach is going to tell you, hey, move the ball, go get a layup, don't settle for jump shots. He just steps right into a 3. Swish, and I'm like, oh, that's the kind of game we're going to have today. So I think when we were talking the other day about how they shot it kind of poorly against, I believe, what was it, Lindenwood, Kevin?
Incarnate Ward.
I'm sorry, Incarnate Ward. When they shot it poorly against them, sorry, was Lindenwood was Purdue, right? I'm sorry.
No. Lindenwood also IU played, but I think it was the Word is who they struggled against.
Yeah, so when they shot it poorly against them, we were kind of like, oh, man, is the early season shooting kind of an anomaly or should we be concerned here a little bit because the competition is going to get stiffer, you might not get as many shots. Now, granted, I thought yesterday they shot it very, very well, and they continue to, I think, prove that is going to be a strength for them. Now, still relatively early in the season, but I was impressed with what I saw, for sure. I did not expect them to blow them out like they did, and like you said, to kind of do it twice, basically.
Yeah, they shot 10 threes by the first media timeout. I would have to look it up, but I am willing to bet there might be at least 10 games in the Mike Woodson era they didn't even shoot 10 threes in an entire game. So, like, that, I mean, that is their mantra.
Yes.
They are the spurtability team. You mentioned Wilkerson. I mean, him and DeVries will shoot threes from the volleyball line, endlessly. They don't even need to make one or two to all of a sudden stretch it out there.
They're what I call wake up shooters. You have certain players where they got to like warm up to it.
Buddy-heeled shooters.
Yes. Well, you can walk in the gym ice cold and you can just shoot.
And shout out to Connor Kenny Powers Enright. That dude is old school, small town Indiana boy. He, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if he's showering every day of the week, but that man lives on the floor. The jump shot's a little, shot putty, and he just does a ton for him. He was outstanding on PJ Haggerty last night, the All-American for Kansas State. I thought he was the MVP of the game and just plays with that bulldog mentality. He's going to get Assembly Hall on their feet so many times. There's a McConnell aspect to his game. I think all of that applies. So very impressive last night down there in Bloomington, 86-69 for the Hoosiers. Colts back to work today. It'll be a walkthrough. We're used to the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practice schedule as you get this late in the season. Teams do opt for some walkthroughs, so the Colts will do that as they get back to practice. Officially, Ashton Dulin on injured reserve, so he is going to miss 4 games, that hamstring injury. James, I don't want to, act like Ashton Dulin is whatever, a top 5 most indispensable player. But you look at Sunday, you're what, a 3-point favorite? You look at next Sunday at Jacksonville, the Sunday after that at Seattle, and then what, it's San Francisco on a Monday night. I'm willing to bet Vegas will have the Colts pegged right around this 3-point spread each of the next 4 games. Sometimes favored, sometimes a little bit of underdog. That's just how it's going to be. And Dulin, as crazy as it might sound to some people, he makes a couple sneaky plays every game that can add up to one less first down you have to get as an offense, one more first down that your defense gets to defend. He is that type of guy. So him missing a month, I do think is notable.
I know you mentioned in a story yesterday on 1075thefan.com the hidden yardage, and he is the king of the hidden yardage because he will usually force the other team to take a fair catch so they can't return anything. He will usually have a great return in his own right on kickoff opportunities. And like you said, Swiss Army knife, they'll throw him in there on some offensive plays. And he had an explosive last week, 48-yard catch, I believe, down the sideline. So it will be a hard position to replace. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it ain't the best either. So I feel for him. I think he missed a couple games earlier this year with a chest injury, if I'm not mistaken. Kevin, might have been one. I know at least one game.
Chargers, maybe?
With the chest injury. But he's been pretty durable over the last couple of years outside of the ACL tear a couple of years ago. So I feel for him, but I do think this is what you kind of bolster your roster for. I feel a little bit better about the opportunity for George Odom. He's been here. He's been a great special teams player for you. So you have options, but yeah, man, that's a tough one.
We'll get to who the Colts have brought up to their 53-man roster. A familiar name here coming up.
Oh, did I spill the beans?
In a little bit. Oh, did you already say it?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Shows you how much I'm paying attention through this turkey hat. I should probably open my ears up a little bit more.
Can I ask a question about this?
Yeah,
So you have the turkey hat on, but you also look very dapper this morning.
Yeah,
so is there a reason to...
Yeah, I mean, on the 1 to 10 dressing scale, I'm never a 10, to be abundantly clear.
Don't talk about my friend like that.
I would say Wednesdays are the one day I reach a 6.
Is there a reason for that?
Well, it's probably the busiest in-person human interaction day I have all week long.
That is true. Our Wednesdays are kind of long, brother.
So for those that don't know, it's the biggest Colts media availability day. So it's the most, usually I see Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton, James Boyd and that's it. And frankly, I treat you all as about a 2 on the wardrobe scale and about a 4 on the hygiene scale. So after the show today,
Likewise.
I will shower and yeah, I will try to attempt to be a little bit more sanitary.
All right, I can respect it. I'm sure the kids probably love the hat.
Yeah, shout out to Julie Sen, former sales co-worker here. We did a show one Wednesday Thanksgiving on the Circle, and
wow,
yeah, she I want to say her mother knitted this hat, and it really stood the test of time. I kind of forget how high it is. I'm looking over at the TV picture of the camera, and I feel like it's like out of the frame right now. It really makes me feel like I'm like 6'8", 6'9".
That's how I feel
Or should
whenever
I say 6'7", 6'8".
Oh Lord, boo! Throw a tomato at him, please.
Did the college football playoff guy do it last night? Did I see that?
I don't know. I've tuned that out in my mind.
Hell, we'll get to those rankings here coming up in a bit. And the Pacers, north of the border tonight. No R.J. Barrett for the Raptors. For those that haven't been paying attention, the Raptors are very hot. I think it's 8 in a row, 12 of 13. And here we are. We've played NBA basketball for a month, and the Pacers are still looking for their first road win. So we'll see if they do that tonight. They are quite the underdog. 7:30 tip, a little bit later, north of the border tonight. And I want to say this is our start of a WTHR game. I think I was announced earlier this week. They've got a few games this year. I want to say it's like 10 or 11 that'll simulcast on WTHR. So if you don't get FanDuel for whatever reason, but you get the local NBC affiliate, you can watch the Pacers tonight as they take on the Toronto Raptors. A happy Thanksgiving Eve to all. Safe travels. Thank you for starting your Wednesday morning with us. It's Kevin Bowe and James Boyd and Mark Dykton on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Down on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
A lot to get to here on this morning check down. Let's start in Bloomington last night. Very impressive from Darren DeVries and company. 86-69 over Kansas State. I was curious. The line continued to climb throughout the day. I think it finished at like 10.5. I was like, that is a big number with how Kansas State has played this season, but clearly Vegas knew what was going on there. Indiana builds a huge lead from behind the arc early. Kansas State gets back in the game, and then to start the second half, once again, the Hoosiers build another big lead, and that was primarily, honestly, through driving it a little bit more, the 2-point game. I thought great minutes from a ton of guys, but Trent Sisley, the freshman from down there in southern Indiana, some really, really quality minutes. And James, the fact that Tucker DeVries, the leading scorer for Indiana, his first bucket of the game came 5 minutes in the second half, and you're up 17. I think another positive sign to Indiana balancing out their scoring.
Yes, and additionally, what I liked defensively was them being able to make it hard on P.J. Haggerty, because this is the guy who was coming into that game averaging over 20 points per game, well over 25, and he was held to 16. So that was clearly atop the scouting report.
Swoosh it up, Mark Dykton. Thank you there. The manual.
I think our PCs went on Thanksgiving break early, too, because we're having some issues today, so that's fun.
Can we get a manual one from you? Very nice. Remember that, from a couple weeks back? Pacers north of the border tonight. They are a 9.5, point underdog. They've got the Toronto Raptors. James, this is maybe the surprise team in the NBA this season.
Yes, I can't believe that they're actually good, because I remember the Raptors when they traded Pascal Siakam because they had to rebuild, but they have the addition of Brandon Ingram. He's been playing good basketball, so this will not be an easy task at all for the Pacers.
So no R.J. Barrett for them. Scotty Barnes, of course, has been, very good in his young NBA career here. So 8 straight wins to the Raptors. I think it's 12-13. A reminder, 7:30 tip tonight as the Pacers look for their first road win here of the season. They'll be at home, much more manageable starting this weekend. You'll get the Tree Light game on Friday against the Wizards, and then the Bulls on Saturday, back to back. Swoosh. As we transition here to college football, the rankings out last night. Nothing too out of the ordinary, certainly from the top 10 or so. You did see the Miami Hurricanes start to climb up. I know a lot of chatter about Notre Dame versus Miami. The committee said last night they are now grouped together, but they still feel like Notre Dame's overall body of work supersedes where Miami
So biased.
is at, so no surprise with that. So the path, if the playoffs started today, Indiana would take on the winner of Ole Miss, Alabama in a neutral quarterfinal game.
Ooh, baby.
And then if the seeds held, it would be A&M and Ohio State. For Notre Dame, they would be the 9 seed at Oklahoma in round 1. If those seeds held the rest of the way, it'd be Ohio State on a neutral field, and then Georgia and Indiana. So basically, Friday night for the bucket, IU wins that game, they will get a bye. Because don't they not really factor in conference championship games? Isn't that the rule?
They shouldn't. You shouldn't be punished for playing a conference championship game when other teams
So
don't.
should you rest players in your conference championship game then?
I think in a vacuum, yes, but in real life, no, because you're teaching guys to go out there and play to win. And you're trying, you know how it is, like when we talk to Shane Steichen, it's always win your division, then try to win the conference, obviously win the Super Bowl. So your first championship opportunity is the Big Ten championship. And for a program like Indiana, you certainly can't. I don't think you should rest anybody because
So IU cares, but Ohio State doesn't care. Next Saturday night is what you're telling me.
if you're looking at resumes of what they've done recently, sure, one team's won the national championship, the other team is just trying to get there. But I don't think either team should rest anybody. Football players, you get paid to play football. Show up and play.
Yeah, and literally when you say that about college football, you're actually
I'm dead
right
serious, yeah.
about that. The 128th meeting between Indiana and Purdue coming up Friday night on the gridiron, 28.5. I don't know if you've seen that line change at all, Mark. Reminder, 7:30 for that one in West Lafayette. Other items of note, a great Thanksgiving slate coming up tomorrow. Mark, your favorite of the three games is what for the NFL?
Well, first one right out of the gate, Packers-Lions. That's the sexiest one right there for me. Jordan Love hasn't been looking very good. The Lions seem to have been missing Ben Johnson a little bit, but The NFC North is still very much up for grabs, so that is the one I'm most interested in.
Chiefs Cowboys to follow, and then we'll see if Joe Burrow indeed makes his NFL, or I should say his 2025
Who
debut.
is this Joe Burrow guy? Is he any good?
3-8. Is that what the Bengals are?
Yes, they are.
3-8.
They got to win out
taking
basically
on
to try to get into the playoffs.
the Ravens, who now lead the AFC North. And this weekend, the IHSA State Football Finals, the odd classes on Friday, the even on Saturday. Greg Rakestraw will join us a little bit later in the show. James, do you have a storyline or a team that you're particularly interested in coming up here this weekend?
I think for me, I'm always looking at the big schools because that is the biggest attention. And I think anytime you have a chance to go back-to-back years winning a state championship without dropping a game, that is remarkable. I would like to know the last team that did that. I'm sure it's not that long ago. They got some rich history here when it comes to football in this state and some of the powerhouses we've seen. And then when you're looking at
Was Brownsburg undefeated last year?
they were. Yes, they went undefeated last
So
year.
this would be another one.
Yeah.
Rematch of last year. Brownsburg, Westfield, 6A, 5A, Maryville, New Pal.
Yeah.
4A is a rematch from week 1. Roncalli beat Dwenger 3-0. You brought up Cascade earlier.
Yes. The
They
Cascade
will be in their first
Cadets.
ever appearance coming up, and that is the 3A matchup with Lures, who shut down Miles McLaughlin in the semi-state round, holding him to less than 100 yards. We'll continue to talk about that throughout
And shout
the
out to
show.
my region teams, baby, Andrean and Maryville. Let's get some hardware.
Maryville. I saw there that they were like 0-10 in their last 10 semi-state appearances.
I'm not surprised at all. Honestly, they're the most talented team, I feel like, in the northern part of the state, or in the region at least. But they would always get to that part of the season, and their undisciplined nature would always bite them.
The Pirates, right?
Yes, and they would, rob themselves of opportunities to get to the state final with penalties and boneheaded decisions. But yeah, they finally broke through.
All right, coming up next, who did the Colts bring up from their practice squad? A familiar name, filling the spot of Ashton Doolin, and also the old T word. Yes, tank. Is that something the Pacers should entertain? We'll chat about that on the other side. This is the Fan Morning Show here. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Thanks for spending it with us.
Once again, Jalen Smith in on that sack. He is one outstanding football player. And, Matt, we are looking at just a guy that can play on both sides of the ball. He's certainly an outstanding tailback, but his future may lie as a defender because he is an unbelievable playmaker on defense.
Indeed, his future did lie on defense. Outstanding career at the University of Notre Dame for Jalen Smith. And his alma mater, Bishop Luers, will be in the 3A state finals coming up. They've got Cascade. That is Friday afternoon. And the great Mark Janes will be on the call for that one with Lance Scheib and Alexa Ross. You got Pat Boylan doing some TV action. How about Greg Rakestraw, of course? He'll join us later in the show. Rob Blackman. Always love to see Rob. On the radio side of things, shout out Kurt Darling, going to be on the call. Brendan King of the 2A, and our very own Jeff Rickard. He'll be on the call. The rematch, Westfield-Brownsburg. Jeff Rickard resting those vocals, getting ready for the 6A state title game. That will be Saturday night. Head to ihsaa.org for all those kick times. We'll start at 11 a.m. Again, odd classes Friday, even classes on Saturday. And we'll get you set for the 2025 IHSAA State Football Finals.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I had no idea the Macy's Day Parade had a lyric. Was that Green Day?
It's Green Day, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Would you ever do that?
No, I mean, I get exposed quick. I got no coordination. What the hell would I be in the parade for?
No, I mean, like, just going to watch it, because my mom is always I would
no.
love to see
No chance.
the Macy's Day Parade. I would love to see the ball drop.
Yeah,
I'm like,
my mom wants to hug Al Roker and, do that.
That's
no
what
chance.
my mom would do.
I've got my aunt and uncle.
Ashley wants to do New Year's at Times Square. I'm like, no chance.
Yeah,
that
I just
sounds
feel
a
like,
horror show.
yes. I feel like, you're going to walk 2 steps and bump into somebody.
My aunt and uncle live just north of New York City. My uncle works downtown, and my aunt did the New Year's Eve ball drop one year, and she just said it was horrific.
Yeah. I'm very much like, oh, this is really cool to watch on TV.
Yeah.
Actually,
do we have local people in the Macy's Day Parade? I feel like, Mark, I I see the Avon Band in it every year.
They might be there. I don't know. Yeah, I'm always impressed by the bands that just travel from all over the place. Like, we're in Chicago, went to the Michigan Avenue parade lights over the weekend, and it was like an Alabama band and everything like that. I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, how do you get the call for that? It's so always blows my mind.
Seems like quite the ordeal, to be honest with you, to travel all that way. James, you mentioned earlier in the show, Ashton Doolin out a month. It will be George Odom getting the call up from the practice squad. That is a former Colt, signed by the team last week, 32-year-old. I don't think he'll do all the Doolin duties.
No.
I think the return duties that Doolin occasionally occupies. You've got Anthony Gould, you've got Amir Abdullah that can do that. One thing I did want to mention just with this Ashton Doolin news of him going on injured reserve for 4 weeks, James, you can't afford an injury right now to number 11 and number 14. We haven't really talked about this much, but Alec Pierce has had a concussion or two, but Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce have been incredibly durable throughout their NFL careers.
Knock on some wood there.
But with the trade of A.D. Mitchell, I say that in all seriousness, and now Ashton Doolin going on injured reserve for a month, like Laquan Treadwell, I guess, would be next man up if you need an outside wideout. So just something to keep in mind. I know the Doolin offensive duties aren't necessarily immense in quantity each week. I still think they view him in a nice light, and he provides, a great, trustworthy option when you do need to give those guys a little bit of a breather there. But just something to point out. If the Colts were practicing today, would you expect Daniel Jones to be full?
That's a good question, because Shane told me there were no limitations, but I would probably lean towards maybe not, because of the way his gait kind of looked later in the game as the game wore on. And this is not to say, oh my gosh, he was so limited against the Chiefs, that's why they lost. No, that's not why they lost. But I think it's worth noting, and I think it was certainly something that we can't overlook, Kevin. So I'll be very curious to see what the estimated injury report says later this afternoon.
Yeah, and again, we see quarterbacks miss a Wednesday practice.
Yeah.
Seems like
that wouldn't freak me out or anything.
No.
I would have to get to Thursday, Friday for me to be like, oh, wait a second, what's going on here?
No, but just something, again, the Colts have a walkthrough today, and for Houston, still need clearance, full clearance for C.J. Stroud with concussion protocol. So that'll be something to just monitor the rest of the week. The expectation is Stroud will clear that, but just something to keep an eye on here. It's the number 1 scoring offense in Indy, of course, versus the number 2 scoring defense. That would be Houston. And it's the number 2 yardage offense, the Colts, versus the number 1 yardage defense. So this is good on good when the Colts have the ball coming up on Sunday. Great on great, you can make the argument.
For sure. I think Danielle Hunter is somebody you got to keep an eye on, same as Will Anderson. And this will be a big test for the Colts because looking at some of the numbers, and I put a story out this morning basically saying the Colts at this present moment need to look long and hard at the franchise tag when it comes to Daniel Jones because the blitz numbers early in the season were great. I mean, he was top 5 against the blitz, and look at all the advanced stats and data. He was arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now he is mediocre to being one of the worst quarterbacks in the league when it comes to diagnosing blitzes and kind of beating blitzes. So all that in mind, Houston, I think, will bring the blitz. They're middle of the pack, I would say, in blitz percentage, which means the volume in which they blitz. But trust and believe they will bring those wrinkles because I think teams have kind of seen the blueprint to beat the Colts. And I look back at it, Kevin, through the first 8 games, the Colts were blitzed at the 3rd highest rate in the league. And again, Daniel was brilliant. He was great against the blitz. Since then, over the last 3 weeks or 3 games, 4 weeks since week 9, they've still been blitzed at the 5th highest rate, but he's dropped way down the list when it comes to efficiency and completion percentage, things of that nature against the blitz. So I don't necessarily trust if this will be reversed and he'll get back to that level of play. I always knew he would kind of come back down to earth. I didn't expect Daniel Jones to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL for the entire season. But the question is, can you get back to being top 10-ish versus, over the last couple of weeks just kind of being
Yeah, I think it's paramount in terms of Sunday. You have got to stay out of the 3rd and obvious. I know that's a little
3rd
bit
and obvious is good. I never heard it phrased like that. That's good.
I know it's a little bit kind of like elementary to say, but when you let those 2 dudes, Anderson and Hunter, get into the Usain Bolt in the block situation pre-snap, I mean, just watch last Thursday night against Buffalo. And, because then Shane Steichen's got decisions to make. Are you leaving Tyler Warren into chip, Jonathan Taylor into chip? How many guys are deployed out on a route tree for Daniel Jones? But if you can win a little bit more in 2nd and 7, 2nd and 7 turns into 3rd and 4, then maybe you don't let those guys pin their ears back. Because I really think for the Colts to lose, Anderson Jr. and or Hunter will have to have a wrecking moment. Like a strip sack, set up a score, take away, like that type, TJ Watt against the Colts type of play. I really feel good about the Colts in this game unless something like that does occur, which, again, they're totally capable of. I mean, right now they rank 3rd and 4th in the league in sacks. I mean, that's individually those 2. And in this 3-game win streak with Davis Mills as a starter, they've especially been outstanding. Now, one thing I think is definitely optimistic if you are, looking at it from a Colts side of it. I mean, the Colts have been outstanding at home this year. I mean, their numbers at home are, I would say, noticeably better than they are on the road. And maybe some of that is due to opponents, but still, I mean, you face Denver at home. If you look at just their point totals at home, James, 40, 38, 33, 31, 31, and 29, and that was Denver. I mean, that is every single game above 29, and one of that, includes Denver there. I mean, no matter how you look at it, yards per carry, yards per attempt passing, touchdowns, interceptions, they have been a much better team at home this year, and obviously it's their first home game in a month.
Yeah, it was funny talking to Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo yesterday, and he said he was in a meeting, and he was like, dude, I haven't been at home. Feels like we haven't been home in a month. And he looked at the calendar. It has been a month. But to me, this is a huge opportunity to kind of right the ship of your season and show that you do have the metal, and I don't mean metal as in like iron, the METTLE, metal, to.
Shane Steichen just comes out with a metal crowbar out of the tunnel.
I mean, that would help, I think. Don't know if it'd be legal as far as the games would go, but I think this is a chance to flex your mettle and show that you can win some of these bigger games. Because the question we have always had with the Colts in years past is, and I would say throughout the Shane Steichen era, is how many games have you won that you weren't supposed to? And I think this year you've proven that to a degree because you started so well and you knocked off a lot of good opponents. And even the 3 losses this year, you're not losing to like nobodies. You haven't had a true, I don't think, stinker, outside of Pittsburgh. But with that in mind, can you keep this from snowballing? You've lost 2 of the last 3. 3 of the last 4 going into another division game sounds a lot different than winning this game, getting back on track. I'm not saying anything that's like out of the ordinary or anything that's extraordinary or, genius here, but this is, I think, a chance to kind of stop the bleeding a little bit. It's like a scoring run in the NBA.
Yeah. Again, you don't want it to snowball. You don't want it to avalanche. Are you taking the Rick Carlisle timeout?
Yeah. Because I do think this can slip into your psyche a little bit where if you get another close game and you wilt under that pressure again, you're going to be questioned. I don't care what anybody says. As confident as you are as an athlete, you're going to have that human nature feeling of, wait a second, are we good enough?
Well, and then you got 2 straight on the road after that.
Exactly.
And against 2 teams right now, they're in the playoffs in Jacksonville and Seattle. So, yeah, we talked about this. I think it was yesterday, James, because I think you were back in studio with us. The biggest game of the Steichen era was obviously the win and get in game to end the 2023 season.
Yes.
But I would call this one of the more heightened urgency games. 2023, you're still in the honeymoon phase. It's Shane's first year as a head coach.
House money, you got Gardner Minshew in there. If you get in the playoffs, no one expects you to do anything.
In 2024, I never felt like you positioned yourself to have an opportunity like maybe you do coming up on Sunday. Whereas,
you mean to tell me when you go to New York and you lose to the Giants by 1 million, that didn't convince you that they were going to do something special that year?
Drew Lock, correct?
Yes, man looked like he was an MVP candidate that day.
Speaking of New York, would you really wear the diaper? Would you wear the adult diaper if you did?
That's one of the biggest reasons not to do this.
The New Year's Eve drop the ball thing?
No.
I couldn't do it. That's one of the reasons why.
Wouldn't you feel that? Wouldn't you feel I would argue the 1 or the 2. Certainly the 2.
I would definitely think so. I mean, I told you all I was on a flight.
I haven't worn a diaper in a while, just to be clear. But
well, I told you I was on a flight to Kansas City, and the couple next to me had a young daughter, and she certainly had, a little potty, and she was telling everybody.
Uncle JB, let me go to the lavatory and change that.
Oh no,
for
she
you.
was telling everybody on the plane that she had to go to the bathroom or had went to the bathroom and she needed to get changed. So if she's feeling that way, and all she has to do is wait for 20 minutes to get off this plane. How do you feel when you got to wait 20 hours or whatever, however long you're out there? That's probably too long, but 7 hours. Because I would think you have to get there early, right, to be down there. You can't just show up at
you're there
11
for
o'clock.
12 hours,
Yeah,
which is and you can't move. Once you're in your...
As a guy we've all probably been to New York. There is nowhere to use a public restroom in the heart of Times Square. That's one of their rules. I feel like you can order food, you can do a lot of things. You cannot use their bathrooms. So I would not do the diaper. And to bring it back to the Colts, they can't be hoping on diapers. You can't ruin this opportunity by poo-pooing your home game away.
Yeah.
Well done.
Uncouth here in the YouTube chat points out the Denver game last year. Yeah, I mean, that is one that definitely I think ranked up there. I don't know. This was just a little bit of a different feel to it.
This is why
maybe some of it's year 3. When you get a little further into the 10 year.
I think it's that, Kevin. I also think that you have earned the right to have higher expectations.
Sure.
Last year, when we were in Denver and JT dropped that ball, which basically dropped their playoff chances, the key word there is chances. They were still having to win that game. I think win against the Giants, get some help from other teams. This is an opportunity where for the first time it feels like outside of that winning in game in Week 18 in 2023, you get to help yourself.
Yeah, and you play from ahead in December.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, again, I don't look at it from a scenario of it's year 3. It's more so we got off to such a great start. We've played such good football overall. Again, you're still 8-3, that we've earned the right to have higher expectations. Now, you can say I'm being, I don't know, a little disingenuous or unfair because it's like, oh, wait, why are you being so hard on them now when they're 8-3? Because you've shown me how good you can be. Point blank, period.
Very impressive from Indiana last night down in Bloomington. Matt Weaver from Peegs will join us coming up at 9. We'll probably talk a little bit more bucket game, football-centric, but again, Darren DeVries' bunch really, really good last night in running away from Kansas State. I'd say both halves. They built some big leads there. Kansas State got back in the game a little bit in the first half, but Indiana built it right back up. Mark, you found this audio in relation to the Pacers and the old T word earlier this week. The T word being tank.
Mm-hmm.
You want to set this up a little bit here from Zach Lowe?
This is Zach Lowe and Bill Simmons on the Ringer podcast discussing, obviously, the Pacers' horrible start to the season, but Zach Lowe discussing why, in the long run, it actually might be quite beneficial for the Pacers.
This could be the best single season tanking scenario since the Spurs got Tim Duncan. This team coming back.
You mean like a team being able to get a major guy?
A very clearly good team,
right,
that is decimated, takes a gap year, miraculously gets its own 2026 pick back in a trade at the 2025
during
draft.
the finals.
That's
the
right.
trade they made during the finals when we were together.
Not knowing that Tyrese Halliburton is about to get injured and that whole season is going to go up in smoke for them. Gets everyone healthy. They're not old. And they're just like, we'll just add potentially the number 1 pick, the number 3 pick, the number 4 pick. A guy who can probably come in and give them real minutes next year. They're going to have to solve the center position, all that. But like, if you're going to suffer that kind of blow, and it was horrible, and like it still gets talked about every time I go out for lunch or drinks or coffee with anybody, that injury and the what if of all that and that miraculous playoff run, people haven't wrapped their minds around it yet. But the Pacers are the finals Pacers are going to come back, sans Miles Turner, with a top 5 pick.
Bring me AJ DeBanza. Bring me Darren Peterson.
Would you have a position, or would it strictly be best player available?
Best player available. I think this class is so good at the top that you just get the top dude that you can pick depending on where you fall in the draft. So if you're a top 3, you just pick whoever's next on the board and you figure it out from there. Because I think the beauty of Halliburton is he can play pretty much with anybody. So as long as you're not drafting a 6'2" guard with a top 3 pick, if the guy is a wing or a forward, go get him.
You can point to injuries for a lot of the Pacers, 2 and 15 start, of course. I would say one of the more wild misevaluations right now with this Pacers team that has nothing to do with injury has been center. Like when Miles Turner exited, let's throw out letter grades here as the son of 2 teachers. Let's call Miles Turner a B-level center in the NBA. I think the Pacers thought they could patchwork it together and get C-plus center play. And I'd argue right now, James, it is the only reason you're not an F is because the teacher likes you.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this because one of those scenarios where you show up every day?
You show up every day. You might be you might be the first to pick up trash off the floor. She's got, oh boy, there's just something about him that, I'm not going to give him an F.
Have you ever done that as a teacher?
No, not to that degree, but I do think there is a little bit of a, if you show me some quality effort and care, then if there is a benefit of the doubt situation, I'm probably going to give you that more than the reverse. So I don't know, maybe I'm lying. Maybe I just said that I did, but I'm not.
Respect. John Lehner in the YouTube chat. Respect 2019 national champ Jay Huff, you cowards. John, Huff, it ain't 2019, brother. And this is not college basketball.
Well, I mean, Huff is a nice backup center.
I'm gonna say, can I say this finally? I've thought this since they signed him. So growing up, when I played basketball with my cousins in the backyard in Chicago, Romeoville, whatever, if someone called you Huff, you were trash. You couldn't play. We would say, this dude is Huff. So whenever I hear his name, I'm like, this is the bad basketball name. Jay Huff. This is like the Hobart Brickies up in the region. Their basketball team, great football nickname, being the Brickies. Got tackled by a pile of bricks is what they would always say on the intercom. If you're playing basketball and your nickname is the Brickies, it's not good. If your last name is Huff and you're playing basketball, it's not good. No disrespect to Jay Huff. Great dude. Can shoot it. But, man, I feel
I just think of the 3 Little Pigs when I hear Huff. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down.
I haven't heard Huff to describe a bad person in a long time. That brought me back to like middle school.
I know.
Wait, you've heard it too?
Yeah.
This is
maybe
news
that's
to me.
I think
it's like
it might be
an Illinois suburbs thing or something. But yeah, he's Huff.
This dude is Huff.
Yeah.
Is this like the PGA Tour golfer Adam Schenk?
Yeah, that's not a good name. It's not a good PGA Tour name.
The man just won on the PGA Tour.
I know.
So
we need to have Jay Huff have the same success. But to your point, I never thought that they could replace Miles as easily as perhaps just this center by committee approach. And it's kind of like the 2 quarterbacks you have in NFL. If you don't have, what's the old saying? If you got 2, you got none.
Right.
If you got 3, you got none.
Now, one thing for Monday, and if you really want to, you are grabbing for the glass half full right now. If you want to look at the last 3 games, James, you won a game beating Charlotte. I would say Cleveland on Friday night, you played pretty good besides the third quarter. And then Monday, against a healthy Pistons team, you're a shot away from overtime. So, again, we're probably really trying to reach for the optimistic glass half full here. You could say that. Now, for those that are in the camp of that Zach Lowe audio sounds like music to my ears, and I don't give 2 bleeps about, competitive losses. Because there are people out there right now that are already saying that. For people that are wins, losses, I don't care. It's all about these mock drafts right now. I do think what Jarris Walker showed on Monday, that is a piece that is important moving forward. Again, can he start to string some together? Is he, when you have the Tyrese Halliburton puzzle back together, is he a part of it? Now, I'm not saying he's a starting part of it. I think that's been clear so far. He doesn't look like that type of player for you.
Right.
But is he a guy that, whatever, can be a top 7, top 8 guy when the new iteration of the Pacers is here? So that will continue to be a storyline for the Pacers. Reminder, 7:30 tonight. Mark, will you double-check that? I want to say it is WTHR simulcast for the Pacers. I think they had that announcement earlier this week. We saw them have a few games on WTHR last year. So for those that don't have FanDuel, it's just exactly Denary, Quinn, JJ over on WTHR. I want to say there's 11 such games this year, and I want to say tonight is the first of those. 7:30 tip, looking for their first road win of the year.
Got to get it done. I have a story about Toronto. I think I told you all this before.
Yes, today's the first game.
Thank you, Mark.
On WTHR?
WALV.
Oh, is that like the sister station?
The first 4 are on WALV, so it's November 26th tonight, December 5th at Chicago, December 18th against the Knicks, December 20th at New Orleans, and then the WTHR games start on January 16th.
And they did this with a fever. A few of these games on WALV. God, the turkey hat, man. My chin. I look like I got 9 chins on the old YouTube chat when I type.
Oh, gobble, gobble over there?
That's an understatement.
I just feel like your probably head is like matted in sweat right now.
Yeah, it's got a very high, the feathers are great. You feel those things up there?
I wonder how long it took to make that.
I know. It's quite impressive. There's nothing I could do less than knit. Can you imagine if they're like, Kevin, you're fired from the radio station. Go be a knitter. Can you imagine what my artwork would look like?
To feed my niece Nelly, you better get to knitting. I know that. Maddie's going to be telling you like, hey, hold on now. I'm not going to be the only breadwinner in this household.
Nelly had 3 poops in 13 minutes last night at about 4 a.m. Like, how is that humanly how can
what y'all feeding her, laxatives?
How can a human that size produce that in such a short amount of time?
3 poops in 13 minutes? That's rookie numbers, man. Talk to me after, like, a trip to Taco Bell or something on a Saturday night.
Like Mark Dykman comparing himself to 2.5.
Well, he has always said he has not really grown up, so
you might need the adult diaper permanently here.
There's times when I've needed it.
Oh, man.
I've done those runs to the bathroom before. I'm like, please, no one be in there. There's about to be a massacre.
Someone said Nelly's a legend for that. Respect greatness when you see it, okay, Kevin?
Yeah, that's one way to interpret it. We'll talk some Colts. Stephen Holder coming up to the other side. Butler's got a Friday afternoon game over there at Hinkle Fieldhouse after their impressive week. Hey, you want to talk impressive right now? You look at the past week. Purdue, 2 non-conference wins on a neutral floor. Butler, 2 non-conference wins on a neutral floor. Indiana at home last night, but they get a notable win. So, state of Indiana, some nice wins here on the resume. Shout out to the Fighting Irish, beating Rutgers yesterday. Did you see who they drew in the, I don't even know what place game they call in Vegas. Have you seen this Vegas tournament, how weird it is?
I have not, actually.
So basically, all these teams are just doing it to get NIL money. That's why they're playing the Vegas tournament. No, hardly anyone's.
Don't they have another one, like a postseason tournament, the Crown or something like that?
Yeah, this is
Am I
called
getting
the
that
Players
confused?
Era Festival.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is similar. So Notre Dame had 2 games, Kansas and Rutgers. They knew about, but the third game you were to play wasn't guaranteed. You didn't know who your opponent was or when the game would be played, and I'm sitting there after the third poop, and I'm like, all right, I can't fall back to sleep. Let me scroll and see who Notre Dame plays today. They've got Houston at 3:30 today. I'm like, what? How in the world did they get the number 3 team in the nation? What are we doing here?
Buckle up. It's time to get plugged and upset.
Syracuse football on the hardwood here and see if we can try and go 2-1 in Vegas.
I'll tell you what, I'll still take Jeremiah Love on the hardwood over what I just saw from that team. Also, from Jordan Chu in our YouTube chat, Mark just called Kevin's baby's poop game Huff.
Yeah, that's right. Step it up, Nelly.
That's like a Mad Lib right there. That's a great Mad Lib.
People from Indy, was Huff a derogatory, playground term?
I thought it was a Midwest thing. Maybe it was just an Illinois thing. But I
vividly
vividly remember people saying that on the basketball court during gym.
Boy, if I got called Huff, that would hurt the spirit.
I know. Go take a lap. You're Huff. Like, oof.
Man,
punch me right in my chest.
Poor Jay Huff. We'll talk other side. Stephen Holder joins us next.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, 8 o'clock here on Thanksgiving Eve. We've got a loaded one for you. Thad Matta going to join us coming up 8:30. We'll talk some bucket game with Matt Weaver from the IU side of it at 9:30. One of the busiest, and frankly, all year long, but especially this week, the great Greg Rakestraw will join us coming up at 9:30, but it's a big one inside of Lucas Oil Stadium on Sunday afternoon. To talk more about that, let's head to the Payless Liquors hotline right now. From ESPN, he is Stephen Holder. Stephen, happy Thanksgiving Eve to you.
Yeah, same to you guys. And shout out to Mark for the mid-career Kanye West right there when he was like, kind of, sort of, kind of normal.
Wish we could go back to that Kanye.
I know. That was
nice.
a great rejoiner, Mark. Good call, Stephen.
I think the description of sort of kind of normal had me laughing out loud there, Stephen Holder.
Well,
Stephen,
we were starting to see signs. We were starting to see signs at that stage. But go ahead.
Stephen, it's funny you use that to describe Kanye West because I feel like sort of, kind of, I don't know what is up with the Daniel Jones injury situation. Is that how you would describe this fibula thing?
Yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world, but I don't think it's nothing. I think when you look at, it's not just that scramble that we're all talking about where I thought it was very evident that he was gimpy. That is not the Daniel Jones that I have come to know this year, which is a guy who just leisurely finishes a play. That, if anything, he's been the guy who we have said, hey, chill out and protect yourself. Okay? And here's this guy just sort of gingerly running out of bounds, within no sight of a defender. That was interesting, but it's more than that. I think you have to ask questions when you see his accuracy at times, not all the time. I think in very small instances, you saw him make some errant throws, and we all kind of looked at each other like, man, he missed that one. And that's not something we've been saying about Daniel Jones, right? So, again, I am not attributing that to whatever is going on with him physically, but I think that allows us to have this discourse and raise more questions because those things did happen and we don't know enough about the injury. So that's just how it goes.
To piggyback off of that, Stephen, I've been kicking this question around basically since we left Kansas City the other night. How much should the Colts be looking at the franchise tag now versus, 5 weeks ago when Daniel Jones was playing at an all-world level?
Well, I think that's a fair question, or a good question. I think that he will answer that question in the next few weeks. They don't have to make the decision now, which is a good thing. However, I think that's just the point, is that the next few weeks are really going to shape, I think, how this offseason goes. Whether it is how much they pay Daniel Jones, whether it's how they do it. You brought up the franchise tag. Does that come into play? I think all of that will get clarified here down the stretch. And that's kind of what I wrote about today. I think that's really, he has to answer the bell. That's basically what this is. Because for all the people, I think there's still been some disagreement on Daniel Jones this year, whether it's my own colleague, Teddy Bruschi, whatever, right? There's been some sentiment that, like, the jury's still out. And is this just a product of the system? All of that stuff, right? Okay, well, the beauty of it is here is your opportunity. Go get your team into the playoffs, win the division, and set them up for success. That is the challenge for Daniel Jones here. And I'm not putting it all on him. Of course not. That's not the job. But he has to step up. There's no question about that. And this is going to be a test for him, and I think we're going to learn a lot about him.
Stephen Holder from ESPN with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Stephen, if you assigned a letter grade to the Colts defense for the effort Sunday in Kansas City, your letter grade would be what?
Oh, man. I don't think people will agree with me, but I would say a B-. And the reason, I know that fourth quarter, I know it was painful. I get it. But I blame as much the offense for that as the defense. I think where I downgrade them the most is ultimately, when you have a chance to get off the field, you have to pass that test, and they did not at times. But I also think when you look at how they played throughout that game, up until the fourth quarter, did you think much of the Chiefs' offense? No. And the reason for that is because the defense did a hell of a job. So I have a hard time just completely ignoring that because of the way they played throughout the game. I mean, Mahomes was holding the ball, all day long, and he wasn't doing that for his health. He had nowhere to throw it. I just think at the end of the day, 90-plus plays is unsustainable. Any defense on the planet is going to look awful after 90 plays. That's a game and a half worth of snaps. It is what it is. And I think that was a bigger factor than we probably are crediting.
James kind of had an audible reaction when I brought this up yesterday. I think Matt Taylor shared this on Colts Roundtable Live Monday night. But if you look at the yardage from Sunday, Steven, the Colts got outgained by I want to say it's right around 240. That is the most they've been outgained in a game since 2017, which I was stunned by. And when you hear, not that yardage is everything, but I think it is an indicator of sometimes how, in control of a game you are, or how much, whatever, between the 20s maybe you play well. I didn't walk away from Sunday thinking the Chiefs nearly doubled up the Colts from a dominant standpoint. It just, Sunday had such an odd feel to it in, the 24, 48-hour aftermath and kind of how you assess that game.
I think, listen, that is an awful stat, but it's also a team stat. And I think it also speaks to that point. I think it speaks to the fact that the offense had one of its worst days in terms of yardage. I don't know if that was a season low, but I think it was
season low. I think 250 something.
Yeah. Daniel Jones, season low, I believe, in yardage as well. Jonathan Taylor, I think his second or third lowest game in terms of yardage. I mean, you got to move the ball. All right, you got to move the ball, and I think we sometimes, I think since that game, have overlooked the fact that they had the makings of a good opening drive to start the game, but short-circuited themselves with the penalties, which was a theme throughout. And the only reason they got on the board there was the turnover down by Mahomes to the interception to Latu. Without that, which is puts them inside the 10-yard line, I mean that game probably is a lot different. And we give the offense credit for that, but let's be honest, that's on Latu. So I think we gotta keep that in mind too. The offense, they just absolutely did not do their part. I don't really think throughout that game they did anything consistently, and ultimately that's why they were where they were. Now the defense didn't step up when the time came, but they should have never been in that position.
Again, we're joined by ESPN's Stephen Holder. He covers the Colts. Obviously, been doing it for quite a while here in the city. Stephen, pivoting to the injury front, we have now found out that Ashton Dulin will be on injured reserve due to a hamstring injury. He is out at least 4 weeks, is not eligible to return at the earliest until week 17. And I believe that is actually a road game against the Jaguars. So all that in mind, how much of a loss do you think that is, considering how much Ashton Dulin does from offense, special teams, and even defense at times?
I mean, I think the totality of his role is very important. And by that, I mean, when you combine everything that he does, okay, whether it's his role as the fourth receiver, which doesn't sound like much until you actually get a twisted ankle, okay, with one of your top receivers, and then what he does on special teams, which will never be valued at an adequate level, right? Because we're all the same. We always overlook special teams, right? But I think when you add up everything that he contributes, he is one of their most important players. I mean, I don't think that is an exaggeration. So do I think this is going to hurt? Hell yes, it's going to hurt. whether they need to make a move at wide receiver, I don't know that they will. I think they will lean on Treadwell, which they have done at times when they've been down a body at that position. But that doesn't mean this won't hurt. This is going to be problematic for them, I think.
Again, Stephen Holder from ESPN Colts. I usually would say back to practice today. It'll be a walkthrough as they get ready for a big one coming up Sunday, about a 3-point favorite over the Houston Texans inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. Stephen, we will see you in a bit, and a happy Thanksgiving to you and the fam.
All right, same to you guys, and see you soon.
Wait, I have a question. Are you still on the line?
I am.
All right. Thanksgiving, favorite meal or favorite side dish at the Thanksgiving table, and then the one you're like, I'm not eating that no matter how good you tell me it is.
Okay, so I don't know why, but I love dressing. And don't, for those of you out there who are about to come at me with some stuffing, no. Okay, no, they are not the same. If you don't know the difference, Google is your friend. Stuffing is like my favorite all-time side. I'm sorry, dressing is my all-time favorite side. If it's done right, like it's got to have some meat in there. It's got to, you got to do it right. But if you do it right, yes, that is my thing. I could eat a plate of it, which is awful for you, but I can do it.
And the one you're kicking to the curb?
Oh, I'm not saying this is like a regular at my house, but like I can spare me the green beans. I don't really care about green beans.
You sound like Mike Chappell right now.
I'm not anti-vegetable. I'm not anti-vegetable or anything, but like,
I feel like green beans is the thing I put on the plate where I'm like this. I'm allowed to eat the rest because I'm put the green beans on there.
That's probably true.
That's kind of how I view it. All right, AI is saying stuffing is a bread mixture cooked inside the cavity of a poultry, while dressing is a similar mixture cooked separately in a casserole dish.
There you go. There's a very key difference. And one is just a tool. The other one is actually like for you to really like legit eat. So that's how I see it.
Stuffing cooked inside. Boy, I didn't realize the stuffing in the.
People are even more confused now.
I know. I'm going to culinary
aspect.
class with Stephen Holder and Kevin Bowen.
Some, call the Pioneer Woman. Some call Stephen Holder Food Network expert here on the Payless Liquors hotline.
No, listen. Let's be clear now. Listen, my expertise is eating, not cooking. But
yeah, right.
But I know what I'm talking about.
Yes, consuming better than preparing. Let's make sure we describe it correctly. Stephen, thank you, man.
I'll see you guys.
That's Stephen Holder right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Marshmallow sweet potato casserole. Is that a thing for you guys?
No, I'm more of a candy yams type of guy. But I've had it before.
Tyler reached out earlier. He goes, sweet potatoes with marshmallows and brown sugar.
That does sound good. I'll probably eat that.
Said it's an absolute must. I can't say I think I've ever...
I've seen it, but I've never had it. I've seen it offered. I've always gone to pumpkin
It sounds
pie.
like
were you too intimidated?
I saw those kids smoking weed, but I didn't participate.
It wasn't me. I might smell like it. It wasn't me though.
I saw her over there, but I didn't say hi to her.
She didn't see me.
It was secondhand pot smoke at a concert.
Man.
Mark, when you ventured back to the hometown on Thanksgiving Eve, would you dabble in a local watering hole?
Back in the day, back in my young and gun days, not anymore these days. It turns into like a high school reunion.
Oh,
and you see all the people. See the people that didn't move on. You're like, oh, you're still here.
It can get a little risque depending on how everyone's feeling it.
It can. I've retired from the Blackout Wednesdays.
Oh, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. The jersey's still in the rafters. It's
I thought
staying
the
up there.
babysitter would be there at 4:30 tonight. JMV live from Brothers in Broad Ripple, certainly a staple back in the day for myself. Now that I think about it, I'm sweating, imagining being in the basement of Casbah and thinking it was going to cave in on me, and then climbing the steps at Red Room, and then hearing the siren at Rock Lobster. Whew, chills.
Get a little rush there.
It chills down my spine. Speaking of Broad Ripple, speaking of Butler, I've seen Thad Mott have a beer inside of the Bulldog. Thad will join us here coming up at 8:30. We'll talk some bucket game with Matt Weaver. At 9, Greg Rakestraw will join us for a busy IHSAA football weekend. And you saw Rake last night. Rake and Pete Smith on the call, right, of Ben Davis and Fisher?
I did. I get a chance to stop by because by the time I got there, he was already on the call. But I did look up, and over on the little bird's perch there at Ben Davis, he was in his seat calling a great game. It was a really good atmosphere for a season opener. I enjoyed that one.
I saw Kyle Nedrup was at, I think it was Franklin Central Pike. I'm like, dude, guys, just take the night off.
He doesn't do that.
Those two will live at Lucas Oil Stadium, particularly Nedrup will live there.
Yeah, no, I remember being a high school reporter, and I drive down for the region, and I have maybe my one, maybe two teams in like the state finals or whatever, and I just see Nedrup pounding out stories all day long. I'll never forget covering the boys basketball 4A game had gone overtime. Some kids talking about how his prized possession, his glorious moment slipped out of his hands, and we're like, oh my God, what happened? And here he is pounding out stories.
Professional, and James Boyd, the amateur, just with his reaction.
Absolutely. I mean, that shot was incredible. I had to react a little bit.
It was certainly one of the moments in March, even though the crowd a little bit smaller. Final Four back inside of Lucas Oil Stadium coming up. Speaking of college basketball, very impressive last night in Bloomington. Let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Shout out to Connor Kenny Powers Enright. I thought he was the MVP last night for the Hoosiers. That man plays with an edge. He will get Assembly Hall on its feet quite often this season. Might not be the flashiest, might not be the leading scorer, but he's got a little bit of a scrappy mentality to him. He brought it last night. Great defense on P.J. Haggerty. That's where I'll start there. Indiana holds Kansas State to 69 points. They had been one of the higher scoring teams in college basketball this season. And James Boyd on a night when Indiana certainly shot a lot of threes early. They didn't need to hit 17, 18 threes to win by 17 points.
Very impressive win because it showed that you can win in a variety of ways. And so this was the first I viewed as the first real test for the IU season, and they passed with flying colors.
I thought one of the key things last night was the second half. You know, they started the game, they shot 10 threes in the first 4-minute sequence, which is just it's unbelievable.
Weren't they up like 20-4 or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, huge lead. It's unbelievable how polar opposite they are from last year's team. But then to start the second half, it was just a lot of twos, a lot of driving more. They got in the bonus a little bit earlier. So again, that's key, I think, for them to win in different ways, not just be the volleyball line 3-point shooting team you know you're capable of, but of course that can come and go a little bit there. So 86-69, Reed Bailey, the transfer from Davidson, had one of his better nights of the year after struggling a little bit here in the early going. Indiana next, Bethune-Cookman coming up noon on Saturday.
You better cook them.
Very good on that. Tonight, north of the border, it is the Indiana Pacers looking for their first road win of the season. Do they get it?
No, Toronto's playing great basketball as of late. If you would have told me it was the old Toronto, the one that got rid of Pascal Siakam and was basically in tank mode, I'd agree. But no, they have kind of figured it out with Brandon Ingram, and Scotty Barnes is still doing his thing up there.
Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, as James mentions. No RJ Barrett tonight. The Raptors have won, I think it's 8 in a row, 12 of 13. They've been really one of the better surprises in the NBA this season. The Pacers are a 9.5-point underdog. They'll be back at home. Wizards and Bulls coming up back-to-back this weekend. Mark, do you have the swoosh back, or have you just been manually swooshing it? I kind of prefer you just doing it. Whoosh! Self.
That sounded like a plane crash.
That
keep the show
was
on.
Awful. I don't know what the
we
hell
gotta keep
that
the show on
was,
the rails
man.
here.
Jeez.
Trying to switch it up.
College football playoff rankings from last night. I don't really think there's a whole lot of drama to hit on. Again, we had, I think it was the top 10 or 11 teams all won the previous weekend. Things of note, I guess, on this side of it. Indiana continues to be the 2 seed. They would get the winner of Ole Miss and Alabama. That would be a neutral quarterfinal game. Notre Dame is the 9 seed. They would be at Oklahoma in round 1. I will say Miami moved up 1 spot. The committee chair did mention afterwards that now Miami's in the same grouping with Notre Dame. Basically, how they rank teams is they tend to get groups of 4 or 5, and then rank them within that group. So despite Miami being in the same group as Notre Dame, they still view Notre Dame's entire resume. And I guess a little bit of eye test over what happened week 1 there in Miami. So that will continue to be a storyline we get. Seems like we do have several notable games coming up this weekend. Georgia Tech, Georgia could have some significant playoff implications. Miami is at Pittsburgh. That is a game that could have something. But for Indiana, I mean, as long as you just beat Purdue, you're going to be a top 4 seed no matter what happens in the Big Ten title game. I think the committee has told us that.
Ohio State finally beat Michigan?
I think so.
Yes, but it's
at Michigan, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's at Michigan. And Michigan's good.
Michigan needs it.
Yeah.
To try and
get the playoff.
Now, is Ohio State still in the Big Ten title game if they lose?
I don't know how that works. You would know better than me.
There's a million scenarios, and I think, even if Ohio State were to lose or Indiana, they would need a bunch of things to go also in the same direction for them to miss the game. I could have that wrong, but
I feel like it's usually how previous Colts seasons have gone, where it's playoff scenarios. And you need the Bengals to tie with the Ravens. You need the Chiefs to lose, but only by 10. And it's like, what?
Seriously. 4-touchdown favorite in the bucket. If you had to bet on one or the other, who would you take? Indiana to cover or Purdue to cover?
Indiana.
Yeah, probably Indiana.
Cignetti's not taking his foot off the brake.
Do Purdue kids care about the rivalry? Aren't they 80 guys that are new from last year? I mean, IU faked a punt on them in the third quarter last year. I mean, that's kind of insulting. But yet, I mean, the only guy that I feel like is back was Devin Mockabee, and he's hurt.
Yeah, but at the same time, I guess you got to find something, right, if you're a competitor. But
that's why if you're a student still on campus, you double dip. You do the basketball game and then the football game, and you're having yourself a pretty good Friday, probably.
There you go.
20.5 point spread there, 54.5 the over and under. All right, coming up on the other side, we'll chat with the head coach of the Butler Bulldogs. They've got a Friday afternoon game against Wright State over at Hinkle Fieldhouse. It was an impressive Greenbrier trip for them. Wins over South Carolina and Virginia on a neutral floor. We'll chat with Thad Matta coming up next.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Butler head coach Thad Matta here in a few. Bo and family, we caved last night. We put up the tree. Kids have just been hounding us. We said, all right, time to put up the tree. Mark, I think I've shared this before. James, I've got about 25 years worth of NFL football ornaments.
Okay.
My mom started this series back in the day. I think she went to Hallmark.
Okay.
Right? One NFL helmet each year. Last year, Mark, remember we played the game, the obscure NFL player that represented the league last year for the helmet? For the ornament
yeah.
was Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
This year, a little bit more of a, I'd say, a somewhat obvious choice. It was Jalen Hurts.
Oh, I didn't even let us guess.
Well, this is where I'm going to let you guess. Max Bowen is going through all the NFL helmets. I keep on saying helmets because the helmet pick. All the NFL ornaments last night, and he wanted to put one in particular on the top of the tree.
How you doing, sir?
One NFL player out of the whole pile that he thought should have been deserving to be on the top of the tree. And we'll share that here. Upcoming. Don't think Matty Bone is too thrilled about Max wanting that on top of the tree, but we'll see if James Boyd can get that here in a few. It was a great weekend in the state of West Virginia. Country roads galore for the Butler Bulldogs. They beat South Carolina on Friday and Virginia on Sunday. To talk more about it, he is the head coach of the Butler Bulldogs. He is Thad Matta. Coach, the Greenbrier served you well, did it not?
Yeah, it was a good trip. I thought that we played some good basketball down there. Guys really competed, and a lot like the week before coming out of the SMU game. Saw things that we did well. Saw a lot of things we got to get better at, but I like the direction that we're heading in.
I was watching a little behind the scenes video of you talking to your team after the UVA win, and you had shared with them a text message you had sent the night before the game. For our audience that might have missed it, could you share what you wanted your team to know the night before that UVA game?
No, it was just more it was pretty simple. Of we had to be the team that was that played harder, that played more together, and we had to be the tougher team in the game, and I thought we did those things.
Thad, when you look at, again, we've talked about him, I feel like on a weekly basis here, Finley Bizjack, when teams are going to scout him, they're going to try to take things away from him, how have you seen him grow to respond when there's no hiding as one of your top guys?
Right. It's a great question. I think with Finley, because of his, he's got a very high basketball IQ, and we've got to move him around and get creative in ways to create space for him. And probably the thing that Finley does that goes as unnoticed as anything is he's an unbelievable screener. And when he sets screens, it buys him time to be more open. And it's stating the obvious. He's really, really fast when he has the ball and can get to the rim or get to a spot to get a three off. And so I think that the biggest thing with him is just being creative and using him different ways throughout the course of the game to free him up.
Thad Matta, the Butler head coach on the Payless Liquors Hotline. I got one more on Finley Bizjack. In this day and age of college basketball, Coach, obviously a huge part of it is players staying with your program and not portaling it up on an annual basis, but also there's an element of you wanting those players to also stay. And with Finley and a team that had a lot of turnover, particularly from the frontline guys, I get some of it was eligibility. But, what, I guess, was it about wanting him to return as well? Because, again, from a new faces standpoint, there's a lot of them for you.
Right. Well, it's funny because, now with the high turnover, you don't always get to build a great bond with a player. And I think that's something Finley and I have developed over his time here is, just sort of a trust. I think he trusts me, I trust him. And, the way Finley finished the season last year is exactly how he's playing right now. And he understands our system. He understands the coaching that we're doing and what we're trying to do. And that does make a difference. Finley and I were talking the other day, and he said, the game is in the time that I've been here, it's really slowed down, and that's what happens to players as they mature. They start seeing things at a slower pace as they're developing, and that's what I really am seeing in Finley when he's out there on the court. He's doing a great job.
To pivot a bit to the rest of your roster, and again, we have Thad Matta, Butler men's basketball coach, joining us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Thad, I know as a coach, you're always going to stress rebounding. You're able to out-rebound Virginia 43-39, and you have a couple of guys standing out on that front. Drayton Jones, season best, 9 rebounds, and then you have Jamie Kaiser, the Maryland transfer, matching his career high with 10 rebounds. So from a grit standpoint, what did you like about that side of it? Because you know how it goes in this game. Sometimes you're not going to make shots, and so you got to get more shots in, and you get that by getting the rebound.
No, extra possessions, it's huge, and I'll say this, and I thought Jamie Kaiser was our MVP down there this weekend. His play was good. He had a play against Virginia where he dove on the floor in the backcourt and literally flipped the ball up, and he slid out of the screen, and Finley went down, shot a 3, and here comes Jamie flying in. He tips it in. It's one of the top 3 plays I've ever, as a coach, seen one of my players do. And, you know, he got 3 shots off in the game and had 10 rebounds. And, you know, he, at one point during the game, he said, hey, let me guard number 2, the little guard that was hurting us, and did a great job on him. And, you know, a lot of things that Jamie did down there went unnoticed to probably the common fan, but myself and our staff and our team, we know what he did down there, and it was great to see. And Drayton, you know, getting 9 rebounds. You know, we've said this all along. We've got to have that from that spot between he and Johan. They've got to do a great job rebounding the ball for us.
Get that motto with us here. Butler back inside of Hinkle coming up Friday afternoon. They've got Wright State after their impressive weekend in the Greenbrier. Coach, I don't think we've ever asked you this. You played at Butler, but you transferred there after a couple of years at Southern Illinois. What led to you transferring to Butler?
You know, I'll be honest. I was only at Southern Illinois for 1 year, and I wasn't good enough to play there, and I knew that. And you know, I wasn't delusional or anything like that. And then Butler offered me a huge NIL package that nobody knew about, and, called room, board, and 3 squares. But no, I think. You know, I knew back then Southern Illinois was in the Missouri Valley and was a bigger program than Butler was at the time. And I've said this before, it was life-changing for me to get here, and smaller school, and, you know, the family-oriented nature that Butler is. It was the best move I ever made in my life.
Was that, did you overlap with Barry Collier then?
You know, Barry was my coach my senior year. I redshirted 1 year and played 2 years for Coach Sexton, and then Barry came in my senior year.
Got it. And the rest is history, of course, with Thad Matta and his coaching career at Butler, now back there. And again, the Bulldogs, nice start to this season. A happy Thanksgiving. What's a must on the plate of Thad Matta coming up tomorrow afternoon?
You know, I'm going to green egg a turkey. And I don't know, you guys use the green egg at all?
Well, it's too intimidating for me, but you have my full trust in it. What time's the turkey going on?
You know, we practice tomorrow, so it you know, as most of America gets to enjoy Thanksgiving Day off, we'll be in full grind. So whenever we get home from practice, and it'll probably be tomorrow afternoon. Sometimes I think we go at 11 a.m.
Green egg and the turkey up there at the Matta.
That does sound good.
Household. I would have a full trust in Coach Matta to get that done.
No doubt. No, I'm looking forward to it.
Coach, happy Thanksgiving to you. Congrats on the nice work at the Greenbrier, and we'll be watching Friday afternoon.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Butler Wright State. That is 2:00 inside of Hinkle.
Make them wrong.
I think Wright State has had a decent start to the season here.
Make them wrong.
Butler's got Boise State next week. Again, Northwestern at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. That's the new, not the Crossroads Classic, the new Indy Classic. Purdue's got Auburn in it. If Butler can hold serve in those two, I mean, you get a non-conference resume where you've gotten 4 of the 5 notable ones, and you don't have any other hiccups. Last year they had the hiccups, losing to these, guarantee games, if you will. That's about as ideal as you could draw it up heading into the Big East. And again, the Big East seems to be super top-heavy with those two, the two being UConn and St. John's. A little bit of a drop after that. All right, coming up on the other side, we'll talk a little bit more on the Colts, and then the 9 o'clock hour, it's a preview of the bucket game. Matt Weaver from Peegs joins us. We talked Purdue yesterday. We'll talk the IU side of it coming up at 9 o'clock.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
And a happy Thanksgiving Eve here. You might be celebrating a little fling or two tonight for old Black Wednesday here at your local watering hole. J&B will be up at Brothers in Broad Ripple. Coming up,
the local watering hole line is hilarious.
Clock today. The reason for cooling the gang and celebration. Mark Dykton, let's put our hands together. James Boyd, Indiana Sports Writer finalist right here.
Look at that. Congratulations.
How about that? The National Sports Media Association announces this. James Boyd, one of 6 finalists here in our great state. Sir, congrats.
Thank you. You know, it's not in my nature to be humble. I'm trying to be. But in all seriousness, it's an honor. I'm looking at the names on the list. A lot of great writers, many that I know very well. So I got a chance to call my pops and tell him yesterday. And he was like, keep it up, boy. I can't pay for your living. So he's just excited that I'm out of the house.
Do you get to give a speech if you win? Because I would like to see, like, this is a list of all my haters. I'm like, I would like to see you just go on.
I'll tell you what, I got a few names that I will certainly remember and throw out there. But
it'd be like if Shadur Sanders would have won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
That's what James Boyd would be like.
What did Shadur say after the first week? He's like, this is after the first week of practice. Imagine what a whole offseason looked like.
Dustin Napirak, Dylan Sin from the Journal-Gazette, as Dustin, of course, covering the Pacers here. Dylan up there in Fort Wayne. James, Joel A. Erickson, Stephen Holder, and Zach Osterman. It's a great list. A lot of very, very...
Many we've had on this show. I want to say probably all of them.
Accomplished writers on that list. James, congrats, man. That's awesome.
Appreciate it. Yeah, second year in a row getting nominated for Indiana Sports Writer of the Year. So excited for that. And I think the winner gets announced early next year. So
is this a fan vote? Should we rig it?
You know, if it was a fan vote, I'd win. I feel like I'm the people's champ out here. But I don't think that's how it's determined. But either way, just to be mentioned, be recognized is always cool. And you don't do it for that, but it kind of made me look back on the year like, wow, I did get a chance to cover a lot of cool stuff. So shout out to the state of Indiana. Great editors I have across the NFL, NBA, WNBA sides, and all of the above. So thank you all for reading, too, because I can't do the job if you don't read it.
I want you to win and just go on like a player haters, Silky Johnson rant. I hate you. I hate you. I don't even know you, and I hate your guts.
Well, we got Alex Lovren in the YouTube chat. He said in my speech, if I win, I have to say I'd like to thank the YouTube chat. You know what, Alex? If I do win, I'll shout out the YouTube chat.
No shock here, but finalist for Indiana Sportscaster of the Year, one Greg Rakestraw. He'll join us coming up at 9:30. We'll talk a little bucket game with Matt Weaver in about 10 minutes. Mark, you care to take a stab at the NFL player that Max Bowen pulled out of the ornament pile last night that he wanted on the top of the tree? So, you know, emphasis there, the hint of the top of the tree.
Now, this player, can I get a hint? Is this player still active?
Well, let's start with, Christmas here. Top of the tree is usually reserved for what?
A star.
Mm-hmm.
Star,
an angel, Santa, something.
Okay. A star.
Okay. Well, that already gives me a hint that was not a star that he's trying to put up there. Minka Fitzpatrick was quite the reach last year.
I literally thought Mark was in my living room when all of a sudden Rosie tries to spin in this chair we have in the room, and next thing you know, I hear one of the ornaments fall off the chair onto the ground, and it was a split head of Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, God. That's glorious to hear.
I'm like, Mark might all of a sudden send a stocking for Rosie and, double what's going to be in there here. This player not active, although I had to double check it.
Steve Smith, Sr.
Not Steve Smith.
Still you weren't sure if it was still active or not.
I had to double check it. I feel like he tried to do like the cup of coffee that we've seen. He actually went back to his old team. But I don't know if we've gotten like official paperwork here.
Went to his old team. And he's a star.
Andrew Luck.
A leaping Salvation Army jumping in there on Thanksgiving.
Oh, Ezekiel Elliott.
Dang, I thought I had that. Andrew Luck, star, going to his former team, Stanford.
And, of course, the star would be the side of the helmet.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right there.
So she's not a fan of putting Ezekiel Elliott.
Max goes, Daddy, will you lift me up there? And he was allowed to put it just below. So Zeke is on the as high up as you can get without being on the top. There.
So
I mean, his name is Ezekiel. There's some Christmas tie-ins there.
Is he the guy that brought the myrrh or the frankincense, something like that?
That's
so he's
really good.
spot on for the Christmas spirit.
So when it comes to decorating the tree, how serious is this in your household? For example, my mom is serious about it, but she doesn't want like the magazine style Christmas tree that's like, I'm going to coordinate it with the colors and make it look all professional. It could be in Macy's. She's like, no, I want the handmade ornament that you made when you were 6 right in the center of this thing. So it's for me, it's like I'm looking back at like history of my life.
Yeah, that's what ours is. And Maddie, I've always said that she's very respectful of my sports obsession. But the sports ornaments have definitely taken a back seat. But luckily, Max Bowen is trying to revive that. There's a small tree that we actually put in the kids' room. I believe the ones he picked out were Matt Ryan, I think Peyton Manning, and I want to say one more. I forget which other NFL player that he picked out. Andrew Luck's broken in like 3 pieces. I feel bad for him there. So yeah, it is. History of our lives, our kids' lives, our own life. Yeah, I'd say that's probably a good way to describe it. Yeah, definitely.
Because my mom, she will go in that box, boy, and if she don't have about 3 or 4 things I made when I was
I'll tell you
7, she is very upset.
She's gonna have to get a little sports writer of the year award. That's gonna have to be take the star off. Ezekiel, what? It's James Boyd on top of the tree.
Yeah, I haven't talked to her about it just yet because I feel like whenever I'm trying to call people, they got different schedules. But I talked to my dad, and he's like, "Oh, congrats, man." I say, "Well, yeah, you know the son you raised. You know I'm the man." He's like, "All right, get off my phone." So I was humble for all of maybe 10 seconds.
Colts, I usually would say back to practice on a Wednesday. It'll be a walkthrough upcoming for today. Again, that Nico Collins matchup on Sunday, I think that will be another one certainly to keep an eye on. I know we touched on a little bit on it yesterday, but Nico Collins in the last 3 games against the Colts, it is 117 yards, 195, and 146. He has 22 catches in 26 targets against the Colts. Granted, the cornerback duos in those games, not necessarily the cornerback duo you'll see on Sunday. One of those games had Dallas Flowers and Darrell Baker Jr. starting. Not Sauce Gardner and Travarius Ward.
From the outhouse to the penthouse.
You good at the B- grade Stephen Holder gave the Colts defense on Sunday?
Yes, because they held him to 1 touchdown. I'm like, if you hold Patrick Mahomes to 1 touchdown, you got to win that game. I get that they gave up a ton of yards, but my goodness, you're facing the greatest quarterback of this generation, and had your offense not been completely incompetent, you win that game.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with that. They did C+. I feel like anything in a C range, you're pushing anyway. So it's like
season high in yards for the Chiefs.
Does
that matter to you guys?
No, because the point, at the end of the day, the score is what matters, and they held them off the scoreboard for as much as they could. It was just
96 snaps, 91 plays.
Yeah, the offense couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I'd argue too. When you guys say just 1 touchdown for the Chiefs, the Colts scored a touchdown directly off the defense and what Latu did early in that game as well. So I think, it's I think it's a difficult argument, honestly. I think there was some good and some bad, but when you look at Houston coming up on Sunday, assuming CJ Stroud's back in the lineup, again, to me, it's just everything revives around Nico Collins and limiting him. And I think if you can do that, then I do expect the Colts to get this done. We'll give our picks. It's our last show of the week, so we'll do that here upcoming to the 9 o'clock hour. But on the other side, we'll talk a little IU side of the bucket game. We did Purdue yesterday, the IU side of it with Matt Weaver from Peegs coming up next.
Gobble, gobble, turkey. What is gobble, gobble, turkey? Just gobble, 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 turkey from Jive Turkey Gobblers,
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, final hour of the week for us here. Reminder, we will have your coverage on a variety of stations for the IHSA State Football Championships this weekend. We'll go odd classes on Friday. We'll go even on Saturday. So that means opposite the bucket game Friday night will be the Pirates of Maryville, correct, James? Talked about that earlier.
Yes. Shout out to Brad Cease, the head coach there. Good dude.
They will take on New Pal. And New Pal goes without saying what they have done here recently with Kyle Ralph and company as they really blew out Bloomington South in the semi-state round.
One of the best coaches probably in the state, any sport.
Yeah, he is building quite the resume there over in Hancock County. And speaking of the bucket game, to talk more about it, let's head to the Payless Liquors hotline right now. A happy Thanksgiving to our next guest. He is Matt Weaver of Peegs.com. What's up, Matt? How you doing, man?
Pretty good, Kevin. How are you guys?
We are great. It sounded like the health update from Kurt Signetti was pretty good earlier in the week, right? Surratt, Kamara, both back in the lineup on Friday night. That's the thought, at least.
Yeah, and it sounds like, there was a chance for Drew Evans. He said they'd know more that day. Obviously, we haven't got anything since then since we haven't had any media availability. But, yeah, getting Surratt back is definitely huge and big for their offense. I mean, they've obviously kind of struggled the last couple of weeks a little bit, and I think that's been part of it, not having that go-to guy out there. But, yeah, getting him back would definitely be huge. And then Kamara, I think he played one series, in the Wisconsin game before he came out. So, yeah, obviously two very important pieces for IU.
Matt, when you look at what IU is trying to do, which is finish out the regular season undefeated, how big do you think this game is from the standpoint of we've got our guys kind of back healthy and we want to make sure we're in a pretty good rhythm after they're having a week off?
Yeah, I think it'll be important. I mean, I do think the biggest thing, and everybody's beat up. I mean, Indiana's not like the exception here, but they kind of limped in to this bye week, but this bye week came at a really good time because maybe sputtering's too strong of a word, but they certainly weren't playing at the same level that they had played earlier in the season the last few weeks. Now they got the wins, and I mean, when you beat another Big Ten team by 24 and you're doing it playing maybe your C-plus game, that's pretty good. But, you're going to have to play a lot better after this week when you get into the Big Ten championship and into the college football playoff, if you want to make some noise. So, yeah, getting these guys back, I mean, I still would, if it was me, hopefully you can get up big in the second half and you can maybe, you can kind of, not push guys. I mean, Surratt's a hamstring and it's going to be cold and obviously those things can be tricky. So you don't want to overdo it, but definitely would like to get him back in there because he hasn't played basically like 3 games. So you'd really like to get him in there and get that rhythm going back again with Fernando Mendoza because they had it going so good earlier in the year. But yeah, that is important. It's tough. You got to balance that, like I said, and balance not overdoing it so that you're healthy for the following week if you're playing whoever it is, Ohio State most likely, and then a couple weeks after that when you get into the playoff.
Okay, let's get into a little bit more of that. Matt Weaver, Peegs.com, so with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. It's rather absurd that this is even a conversation, but in this day and age in college football, Matt, there is a little bit of a question on what exactly these conference championships mean. Now, historically, it goes without saying what it would mean for Indiana to win a Big Ten football championship. But let's just talk in the 2025. Winning it would do what? I guess you would get the 1 seed. You get the first choice of a neutral site game. Am I missing anything else on what winning it would mean? Obviously, as we saw last year, Ohio State didn't even make it and won it all.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think it's more you get a trophy, I guess. And you get to say you're the Big Ten champs. I think whoever wins that game would get. I think they're slotted to the Rose Bowl because that's kind of the Big Ten game.
So no matter what, you go to the Rose Bowl.
I think so.
Okay.
And for me personally, I actually don't want to. I'd rather go somewhere where it's not as far of a flight and travel's a little bit easier. But that's me being selfish. But
so it's Rose Bowl. It's Dallas. Is it Dallas, Atlanta, Miami, or the Rose Bowl? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, and my guess is, this is just me guessing, but like the top SEC teams, I would think is probably going to get, it's not Atlanta, I think it's New Orleans, Miami, Dallas, and the Rose Bowl. So I would think they would probably get the Sugar Bowl. That's more of an SEC game.
Yeah, that's what Georgia got last year. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, historically. So I would think, and then Miami. So I guess it'd be maybe Miami or Dallas if you lose. If you lose that Big Ten championship. But I'm not really sure what it does. I saw Rich Eisen kind of going off about this, about like you're gonna kill an undefeated season for one of your teams. The Big Ten is, and I mean, I kind of see his point, but I don't know. I mean, I think you're going to make money. You're going to sell a bunch of tickets. You're going to fill up Lucas Oil because if Ohio State's there, it's going to be packed. It'd be packed probably no matter what, but definitely if they're there. So I don't know what it does for you. The committee's always said that they don't put a ton of stock into it. So I think even if Indiana loses, unless they just get absolutely dog walked, I think they stay in the top 4 and they still get a bye. So I mean, other than potentially getting guys hurt, I'm not sure where there's a whole lot of benefit for you, in playing this game. And here's the other thing. This is a weird thing to say, but it's hard to beat a team twice in 1 year. So let's just say you go in there and you beat Ohio State. If you meet them, I mean, I just think it's tough. I think it's really tough to beat a team twice in 1 year. That's why, like in the second, if Indiana gets a bye, I'd rather not. If I'm Indiana, I'd rather not play Oregon. The number 1 team I'd rather not play, and Kevin, is Notre Dame, because Notre Dame is playing fantastic right now, and Jeremiah Love is a freaking beast. So I don't want to play Notre Dame in that quarterfinal round if I'm a team. I think they're an absolute dangerous team. But I think it's tough to play a team and beat them twice in 1 year. So it's just weird if you have to play Ohio State and you're playing them potentially, a month later in possibly the national championship game.
Yeah, it's just some odd conversations regarding conference championships. I just hearing you discuss it all, I'm like nodding my head, but then I'm like, man, given the history of the Indiana football program, accomplishing a Big Ten championship would obviously be something incredible. All right, let's shift gears individually. Fernando Mendoza, it still appears to be the favorite for the Heisman Trophy. You mentioned Love. His name has obviously grown a little bit. We'll see what Julian Sayin can do in what will be a heavily watched game coming up on Saturday with Ohio State and Michigan. If Mendoza just kind of doesn't do anything too, I guess, negative, is it your thought that he will win the Heisman here coming up?
I mean, I guess. Listen, Fernando's had a great year. He really has. He's done a lot of special things. But let's be honest, this is not a vintage Heisman, race. There's not like a couple, 2-3 guys that are just, blowing everybody, that are playing like an incredible level. They're playing at really high levels. Don't get me wrong. But usually you have, a couple guys that are just doing something ridiculous. I guess so. I mean, again, I think Jeremiah Love should be in the conversation big time. I mean, they've got a freshman quarterback up there. He is just ridiculous. I get the ACC is not great, but the bottom line is they're curb stomping people. I mean, that game against Syracuse, they could have named the score. But yeah, I mean, I think Julian Sayin, obviously, he's done great things in the last couple of weeks. He hasn't had, maybe arguably the best receiver in football, and Carnell Tate is right up there too. Those guys have been banged up. So, I mean, I think to me, it's kind of a 3-horse race. And I think it's kind of, this is, obviously non-quarterbacks have won it before. It happened last year, but to me, it's kind of like in the NFL. I think quarterbacks get a little bit more of an advantage when you're playing for these individual awards than maybe a running back or somebody else, unless they just do something, incredible. So I would say he's probably the favorite, but for me, and while it would be great for an Indiana player to win the Heisman, the most important thing is getting through this week. And obviously the Big Ten championship as healthy as possible so that you can make a run for a national title.
Last one from me, Matt. Along those lines, though, do you think he cares about it? I know when we ask players that as reporters, they're like, team first. But it's the Heisman we're talking about.
Oh, I think any player cares about individual awards. I do think Fernando is about team first. And I think Fernando came to Indiana because he wanted to be coached so he could get to the next level. I think his ultimate goal is to be an NFL quarterback, which is a goal of probably almost any player in college football. And I think that's his biggest goal, and I think that's what he would say individually. If he wins the Heisman, I think, of course, he'd love to win the Heisman. Who wouldn't? I mean, that's a big deal. But at the end of the day, if they tell him, we're going to go through the playoff and you're going to throw the ball 20 times a game, we're going to run it. I'm not saying they're going to do this. We're going to run it 40, 45 times a game because that's how we think we can win. I think he would be like, okay, or, whatever. Obviously the Heisman might be before that, but like in the Ohio State game or the Purdue game this week, he's going to do what's best for the team. And if the Heisman comes from that, great. And if it doesn't, I mean, I think he'll be okay with that. But yeah, he's a competitor. I mean, and Fernando is, I mean, you've seen him. He's outstanding in interviews. He always says the right thing. But I would say deep down, if you put him on a lie detector test, he'd say, yeah, I'd love to win the Heisman. Who wouldn't?
That's what I'm saying. I feel like part of him's got to be like, I'm better than these dudes. He wouldn't say that, but I'll say it for him.
Matt, is the thought his brother will be the starter next year?
Well, I think he'll be in the mix. I mean, here's the thing. I think there's a better chance of me being the quarterback in Indiana next year than Fernando Mendoza because he's going to go pro. I guess unless he just doesn't want to play for the Jets or possibly the Browns, which I don't think I could blame him. But you know, I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. This isn't source. This is just being logical. He's going to go pro. If you look at the quarterback room after that, they parted ways with their 2026 commit Cash Herrera. Tyler Cherry is expected to be back on the roster after missing this year with a knee injury. And then they have another young quarterback that's a true freshman out of Illinois, Jacob Bell. So you have an incredibly inexperienced quarterback room for 2026. They're going to go get a transfer. Now, who that is and what kind of level he'll be will be a guy that comes in and he's not. It's not like a Fernando Mendoza where he's basically anointed the starter, or will be somebody where you just want to bring in somebody who can provide competition and has a chance to win the job. But Alberto is still a part of that discussion. But they're going to bring in a transfer. There's no you have to. It would be honestly coaching negligence if you didn't, because if Alberto would get hurt, you're turning to a guy who literally has never taken a snap in college football, and you just can't do that. So they'll bring in a transfer, but I think he will definitely be in the mix, and I think he's got a good shot to win the job. He's a talented kid. We just haven't seen him when the bullets are really real. We've seen him in mop-up time, and he's looked great, but it's a lot different coming in 49-10 than when the score is maybe 10-10.
He could very well get in coming up on Friday night with how Indiana has played here as of late. It is the bucket game, 28.5 point favorite, Indiana over Purdue in this one. Again, 7:30 coming up from West Lafayette. Matt, have a great Thanksgiving, man.
You too, guys. Thanks so much for having me on.
Matt Weaver from Peegs, where you can find his work. I remember we had Dane Brugler on a few weeks back, James, the draft analyst. He mentioned that from a 2026 quarterback cycle, he had 4 quarterbacks ranked in his top 20 at the start of the year. Mendoza was one of the 4, and Mendoza was the only one that had maintained that status. Now, what are we? 11 weeks into the college football season, 12 weeks into the college football season.
It's a credit to how he's handled everything, because I think of all the quarterbacks I've watched this year in college football, and I'm not some diehard fan watching every single game, but I try to watch the big ones. He seems to be the most stable of all the top-tier guys for this year's draft class. Like, I haven't seen a Fernando Mendoza performance where I'm like, boy, he is just so off today, or he's snowballing into a really bad performance. There's been some mistakes, sure, but I think he's got a lot of mental fortitude to go along with the obvious physical talent.
What's the Jets and the Browns of the Thanksgiving plate?
I'm not a big cranberry sauce guy.
Yeah, cranberry anything, not usually.
That can get a tad controversial.
I know, but I like controversy, so I'm against it. And I don't know.
What about the damn turkey?
No, I
ain't rocking
with
turkey like that.
I do like turkey, so
it all comes down to how you make it, and I'm like, look, if you got to do all this,
Emeril Lagasse. Wait, I mean, you sound like you're watching the Food Network and you're living with a pioneer woman.
No, you didn't let me finish. It all comes down to how you make it, and I can't make all that stuff. So by the time you get done with all that, just give me the ham, which is probably more easier to get the job done.
Yeah, I'm with cranberry for the most part. I'm trying to think of like other ones. I see it on the table, and I'm like, nope, hard pass.
Evan Sherrill says deviled eggs.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
I couldn't
Some
disagree
people
more.
love them, and I'm just like,
I just want the lazy burrito from Cluster Truck now that Evan Sherrill's chiming in here.
I can do one, but like some people are like housing like 6 of them. They look like chipmunks. I'm like, how are you eating all those eggs right now? That's not gonna.
Some of you guys are just haters. Clearly,
chase that with some Pepto-Bismol. Some bubble guts
and your
going.
adult diaper.
Yeah.
Who wins? Chiefs, Cowboys tomorrow.
Cowboys.
Ooh, that is interesting because I feel like the Chiefs. You would think they turned it on this past week against the Colts, but CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and the way Dak Prescott is slinging it right now, I don't know if their defense can stop a lick, but their offense is looking pretty good.
And I'll tell you what, George Pickens, I know he can, make you have to dial up Weaker O'Hare Indy, but that dude is talented.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say Kansas City still pulls it off, but I think it'll be closer than a lot of people think it'll be.
So that's what we got tomorrow. We'll start with Lions and Packers. We're a little later start time I saw we're 1 o'clock. I thought we usually were in the 12 o'clock window.
Yeah, I feel like it's usually 12:30. I think is usually the kickoff for that one. So
wait, aren't you done with your family by then? Come on now.
That is.
Move on to the next combo.
I always remember the Lions game starting in Illinois, and they'd be like 11:30, and I'm like ironing clothes, getting ready. I'm like, oh, the game's on now. I'm like, oh, I forgot.
That is true.
But now, yeah, apparently they're going regular kick time, and then the night game I believe is just a Peacock exclusive. Dial up the cock.
Lord.
Oh, it's not NBC?
I don't think so. I thought I heard Mike Tirico say it on Sunday night that was a
that should be a
Peacock
sin.
exclusive.
Well,
I could be wrong there.
By the way,
I hope you are. I'm not you personally, but I feel like that's.
I hope I'm wrong.
Ridiculous.
Speaking of Peacock, speaking of Notre Dame,
it looks like it's on NBC. My mistake. It's on NBC and Peacock.
Okay, there you go.
You guys hear Matt Weaver talk about my Irish there?
Yeah, you're losing the
boy. I was like, he's doing this because he wants to come back on the show.
I had to readjust the pants a little bit there. Gosh, man. Not due to my waist either, to be abundantly clear.
Jeff, when Cluster Truck walks in the door.
Do you agree with Matt Weaver? You unbiased individuals? I won't chime in here. Do you think there are teams out there that don't want to see Notre Dame on their side of the bracket?
No, I think that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anytime you get rolling like this, CJ Carr doesn't look like the new starting quarterback anymore. Granted, he looked good early. Looks like they trust him more. And then Jeremiah Love's best player in college football right now. I think, pound for pound, you can go with the Heisman Trophy candidacy, but player for player, he's probably the best. So, yeah, then when you put 21 points on the board against an opponent without putting your offense out there, that's pretty impressive. Maybe that's just as bad as Syracuse is, but credit to the special teams and defense that the Notre Dame Fighting Irish also offer.
I still think Ohio State's brand will offer them to be the definite favorite when the playoff gets here, but it does have the feel of a little bit more open bracket. Like if I said, okay, let's start ranking these teams that could win it all, I think you could get a lot of disagreement on, is Indiana definitely right there at 2? What about Texas A&M? Is Georgia, Alabama? Does anybody believe in whatever teams that are playing on the first weekend? I mean, last year, that's what you had. You had Ohio State and Notre Dame. Neither of them got the bye, and they made it all the way to the national title game. So, I don't know. It just feels like it's got a little bit of that flavor coming up this year. We still need to do our Colts-Texans pick. We've got Greg Rakestraw here coming up in 10. Mark Dykman, let's check it out.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, we're talking a lot of IU football right there with Matt Weaver, but how about some IU basketball? Shout out to the Kenny Powers offspring, Connor Enright. That dude is my MVP from last night. The hair's a little moppy. It's a little old school. The form on the jump shot might not look picture perfect, but that dude does a lot of little things for Indiana. Outstanding defensively last night and really contributed offensively in a notable way as well. Guarding the All-American, P.J. Haggerty did an outstanding job there. And I thought it was a defense. I know Indiana shot 1,000,000 threes early. They got to the foul line a bunch. But, James, we mentioned it on yesterday's show, Kansas State was scoring this year. And they didn't get to 70 last night. And that was a grind for them to get to 70. So, pretty impressive. 86-69 for Darren DeVries' bunch.
They remain undefeated, and they look like they have formed an identity of knocking down open shots, shooting the 3-ball very well, and like you mentioned, trying to play some gritty defense.
They shot 10 threes in the first segment of the game, the first 4 minutes of the game. I mean, I recall several times in the Mike Woodson era, them not even getting to 10 threes attempted in an entire game there. So some spurt ability they definitely have. Shout out to Trent Sisley. I thought the freshman has had a really nice start here to his first season in Bloomington. All right, tonight, north of the border, it's a 7:30 tip. Mark, you said the sister station on WTHR?
Yep.
WALV, I believe.
WALV.
Again, WTHR and their sister station will pick up, I think it's 10 or 11 Pacer games coming up this season. This will be one of them tonight. 7:30 tip against a Raptors team, James, that I would say if you make a list of the early first-month surprises in the NBA, the Raptors are right up there with any.
Absolutely, and I just hope that they don't have any surprises like I did when I went to Toronto a couple of years ago. A speaker caught on head over the court, and they had to evacuate all the fans, and so it felt like a bubble game. I stayed, and I heard Pascal Siakam, who was a Toronto Raptor at the time, yell at a Pacers player after he shot the ball, "Hell no!" That was quite the experience.
Boy, I vaguely remember that. And where was the game? Were you covering the game? Was it against the Pelicans when there was a bat in the arena?
No, I did not, but I had to reference that in my story. So, yeah, seriously, we were sitting there at the game, and we start smelling something that was burning, and I'm like, it can't be popcorn because it smelled rubbery, and it was a speaker. We saw this mass exodus of people, and so they get on the PA announcer, and they say, hey, everyone's got to evacuate. And this guy who had courtside tickets, he looks at me and says, does that mean us? I was like, are you a fan? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, you probably have to leave. It's like, I mean, I'm not the fire marshal here, but come on, man. And they laid it for like an hour, and they resumed the game with no fans, and it was so eerie and weird. And looking back on it, I want to say the Pacers had just traded for Tyrese Halliburton not too long ago, and Pascal Siakam was on that court, and all their teammates.
Fascinating.
Look at that. It's quite the little oral history right there from
There
James
you go,
Boyd.
baby.
All right, college football this weekend. We know the bucket game will be 7:30 coming up on Friday night from West Lafayette. How about some local smaller school action? Indy, for the first time in, I believe, their school history, they're hosting a second-round playoff game. That'll be 2 o'clock, Minnesota State. We've got the D3 playoffs with DePaul and Hanover both in action here coming up Saturday at 1 o'clock. And Marion, they will have Dort, if I'm saying that correctly, out of Iowa. That is over at Ascension St. Vincent Field at 1:05 coming up on Saturday. Notre Dame Stanford, that is a late one, 10:30 kick. That is from Palo Alto with Andrew Luck and Frank Reich's final game as the interim head coach. Only other thing I really had, HSA State Football Finals. James, anything standing out to you? You mentioned a little bit earlier, Westfield Brownsburg in that rematch. Anything from a 1A to 6A standpoint you're looking forward to this weekend? Greg Ragshaw will join us next, obviously, to talk more about it.
I want to say this might be one of the best seasons in Cascade history. They're probably underdogs against Loras, considering their resume and who they played throughout the regular season to get to this point. So they're not the regular, 8-5, 9-5 team or whatever it is as far as their schedule. But I think the Cascade Cadets is a good story, and that small town vibe never gets old.
Yeah, we talked to Colin Nedrip about it on Monday. That was an awesome atmosphere for their semi-state game with Gibson Southern on Saturday. Really cool to see the shots around their field there. So again, they'll be 3A. That is approximately 3 o'clock, 3:30 coming up on Friday. We've talked a lot about the bigger classes. Pioneer South Putnam will get us started. I thought I saw Kyle Nedrip tweet out yesterday. There's like 34 kids on the Pioneer football team. Just amazing there. Jack Kaiser, a former Pioneer player there. So that'll get things started. And then 2A, that'll be the first game on Saturday, is Andrean and Brownstown Central.
Shout out to the Andrean 59ers.
Brownstown Central making their first ever state finals appearance. Shout out to their quarterback, Micah Sheffer. Quarterback in football, plays basketball for them, and he's heading to Purdue on a golf scholarship.
Jeez.
Quite the multi-sport
Some
athlete
people are
down
God's
there
favorites.
for Brownstown Central. God's favorite? How about our next guest?
Yes. God gave him a great voice.
The only. Greg Ragshaw. He joins us next.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Greatest Thanksgiving halftime show of all time. Right here. The guy flying through the air like Superman.
Really
we know how good we had it.
Really sad we're not running it back with Creed coming up on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Who'd you say? Lil Jon?
Lil Jon, Post Malone, and Jack White.
I need Lil Jon to perform Lovers and Friends. Tell me again, my baby.
What year was that, Mark?
Play Get Low. I don't know.
Well, that'll get you turned up.
When Creed played?
Yeah.
It had to be early 2000s, right? Like 2004?
I thought you were going to go back to Celebration Cool and Gang. We played that a little bit earlier for our Indiana sports writer.
2001.
Wow, man. Indiana Sports Writer of the Year finalist, our very own James Boyd. How about our next guest? Indiana Sportscaster finalist, no surprise whatsoever, the one, the only Greg Rakestraw. Rake, congrats, brother.
Thank you, appreciate that, and good luck to the other 4 finalists, and Kristen Airy, Rob Blackman, Andrew Chernoff, and Mark Boyle. I am honored to be part of such a group.
Well, they are honored to be a part of you on that list there. Rake, this is one of my favorite weeks of the year. I know it's a week that has your schedule crowded like none other. Last night over on the west side, what does the entire week look like? I believe you've got a college basketball game on Friday.
I do. So last night was game 1 of 6 for me, not counting the Colts on Sunday. So tonight is Avon and Plainfield with a season opener, and Plainfield has a chance to do some damage in 4A this year. They're part of a loaded sectional that Ben Davis is a part of. Pike may be the best team in the state that's in that sectional too. Plainfield is led by Noah Smith. That's going to go play at DePaul for Chris Holtman next year, and is a likely Indiana All-Star. Avon's got some young pieces around Jedediah Manette and a new coach in Corey Taylor, who led Ben Davis at the state championship game back in 2024. That's tonight's game at 7:30 on My Indy TV. Then on Friday afternoon, I will have the Butler Wright State game on ESPN+. It was great to hear Thad Mott on the program early. I'll be catching up with Thad coming up on Friday morning before the game. And then it's 5A Friday night for me. And then on Saturday, IU Indy Morehead State at 2, and then the 6A game at 7 o'clock Saturday night.
Rake, when you look at these football matchups, first off, I'll back up and say I saw you last night at BD. Didn't get a chance to go over there. You were doing your thing on the airwaves, but certainly a great game we saw last night.
First of all, you could have come over because of the late start of the JV game.
Fair.
I did 50 minutes of live pregame on television. You would have been welcomed to come over and say hello. We would have thrown a headset on you and not let you leave for 10 minutes. Secondarily, I did point, since you were sitting next to our great mutual friend John Easter mid-court.
Yes.
And I went to Jason Thompson, since I had a camera guy right next to me. I said, hey, you see that guy down there? That's James Boyd. Then he pointed. I said, no. That's my buddy John Easter. The guy next to him is James Boyd. So we got you a congratulatory shout-out for your finalist status on the broadcast last night.
Much appreciated.
So I thought it was of note that I pointed out 2 people in the stands that we could get on camera. The other one being, Jason Gardner's dad, who flew in from Arizona to watch him play. We didn't get Jason Gardner's dad on camera. We got James Boyd on camera. Hashtag priorities.
There you go. I appreciate that, Rick. Always the consummate pro. But looking ahead to this weekend, obviously huge games, legacies, and the such will be decided for certain programs. What are some perhaps underrated storylines we should pay attention to? Because I know the big one is Brownsburg trying to go back-to-back and remain undefeated for the second straight year.
I really think we're going to have 5 or maybe even all 6 games be pretty competitive. The one that you don't think will be, just because what they have done to virtually everybody else they have played, is New Pal. I know Maryville's got some serious talent and serious speed on that team. Can they handle the physicality of New Pal? And New Pal, for what they have done, there are 2 stats that jump off the page to me. If they are to win this game, they will have beaten a ranked team every round of the tournament. That has not been done since we went to an all-in tournament format in 1985. Now, again, in 5A and 6A, because there's only 30-something teams and 10 teams are ranked, It's a little easier to do that, but it's still literally the toughest path you could possibly have, and New Pal has aced them all so far. Other thing that should tell you the amazing job that Kyle Ralph has done at New Pal. If they win, it's the 5th time they would have won a championship in undefeated fashion. The other 2 coaches that have done that, Bud Wright and Dick Dullahan. That should get your attention in terms of kind of what Kyle has meant in a short amount of time to Indiana high school football. But in all of these games, you have got communities that either have not been there before, communities that have not been there in a long time. You have some traditional powers like Roncalli and Dwenger. Who would have thought when Roncalli beat them 3-0 in week 1, it'd be a state championship rematch? But that's where we are in 4A. But again, JB, I think the overarching theme is I really think at least 5 of these games should be pretty competitive 1 or 2 score games.
Man, you got me in a Jason Gardner rabbit hole right now. I didn't realize he's the 3rd leading scorer all time at Arizona. I mean, I knew he had a really impressive career there. I didn't realize he was that high on the list. Greg Rakestraw with us here, Payless Liquors Hotline. Rake, just to remind everybody from a viewing standpoint, IHSA TV has got an app, right? You can go there, and what is it? Is it $20 for the whole, for all 6 games, or $25, something like that?
Something along those lines. It is IHSAATV.org. And again, what I would suggest is simply buy a weekend pass because basically you can buy 1 game, or for a couple of bucks more, you can buy all 6 games. And it's a little more, consider your Black Friday savings from the IHSAA. So simply put, go to IHSAATV.org and it will be easy to follow the prompts.
Okay, your favorite storyline 1A to 3A. I know we do a lot. Obviously, you just mentioned Roncalli. You just mentioned New Pal. We get the 6A rematch with Westfield and Brownsburg. But if we trimmed it down to 1A, 2A, and 3A, what do you like?
Cascade going for a first time jumps off the page at me, and the fact that they kind of had the stage to themselves, and I love the reference that was made. If you had the helicopter, the drone, it would have looked like the end of Field of Dreams. Everybody trying to get to Cascade High School to and from on Saturday night. Knowing there were over 4,000 folks that were at that game. Most, if not all, of southwestern Hendricks County will be at the 3A game on Friday afternoon. The other story that stands out to me is that Reed May, the head coach at Brownstown Central, has been doing this for a long time, has over 300 wins. His winning percentage is somewhere in the 85% range. Brownstown Central has been the best team in their league for a long time, and they have always been one of the 2 smallest football playing schools in the Mid-Southern Conference. And here they are finally getting to a state championship game. So it's kind of a career crowning achievement for Reed to be able to bring Brownstown Central to a state championship game. And from a South Putnam standpoint, they've been good for a long time. They've been kind of knocking on the door. They run into Lutheran or Providence. That was not the case in either situation this year. Providence got beaten by Milan. South Putnam went to Milan and handled them rather easily. And I've known Chuck Sorrell, their head coach, back to his playing days at Franklin College 25 years ago. So I'm so happy for Chuck. I had a good chance to catch up with him and see him on Monday. But when I think of 1A through 3A, those are the immediate things that come to mind.
So, Rake, I know you don't count it in your 6 games coming up, but you do have a Colts game to call. So
I do.
What are your thoughts on the opportunity that awaits against Houston and perhaps how formidable that defense is, considering the gut-wrenching loss the Colts just came off of in Kansas City?
Yeah, quite formidable. And again, and I pointed this out on the postgame show Sunday, this is not the way NFL players or coaches think, but maybe this is a recalibration for fans. I'm not saying to wave bye-bye to the dream of being the number 1 seed in the AFC South, but now the focus is, or number 1 seed in the AFC, but now the focus is on the AFC South. The next 2 games will determine what the conversation looks like for the following 4 weeks. If the Colts can find a way to win against Houston and beat Jacksonville, the AFC South is theirs. And now realistically, you're playing for a first weekend bye. You're playing for a second potential home game. But now you got to take care of business. And, when the season started, I almost think the overwhelming thought was, hey, if you're in the neighborhood of 500, you've got those 4 division games left of your last 6. You win those, you're going to be okay. And that is still the prevailing wisdom, even after a much better start than anybody would have anticipated. So the finish was obviously disappointing on Sunday afternoon. But at the same time, this is one you ultimately got to kind of flush quickly because, Houston's playing better football and Jacksonville's playing better football. And if you can win these next two, then maybe we're talking about a potentially deep run into the month of January.
When it comes to sports in this state, as we go around the Thanksgiving table, we are very thankful for the one, the only Greg Rakestraw. That is abundantly true, and he is going to be a busy man in our ears and on our television sets coming up here over the next few days. Rake, don't know if I'll see you later today at Colts, but if not, I'll certainly see you this weekend and see you on Sunday.
All right, thanks, fellas. See you later.
A happy Thanksgiving to Greg Rakestraw right there. We'll do it one final time here. Colts-Texans pick. We'll round it out. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Couple items to get to right here. Mark Dykton, let's go ahead with another 4-pack to Butler Wright State coming up on Saturday. Let's just go fast fingers. 317-239-1070. We did text line earlier. We'll go fast fingers. That is a 2 o'clock tip. Butler and Wright State from Hinkle. 4-pack of tickets. A little Thanksgiving gift. I was talking with Scotty, statistician Scotty.
Shout out Scotty.
Brought it up yesterday. Heisman finalist. You know, we obviously feel Fernando Mendoza, of course, will be one. I think Jeremiah Love has earned a finalist. So I think they will go to New York no matter what happens here. I was asked him the last time the state of Indiana has produced 2 finalists. He's going 1989. Anthony Thompson, the runner-up. Tony Rice from Notre Dame finishing 4th that year. That would have been Andre Ware. I threw at him, what about Purdue and Notre Dame, if you go back a little bit there, and it looks like he's found that out. Back in the 60s, he said you had a couple of seasons, 68 and 66. Leroy Keys, Terry Hanratty, Purdue and Notre Dame, and then O.J. won that year. And then 66, Steve Spurrier won. Bob Greasy, Nick Eddy winning, or second and third on that list. So
rare air is basically what you're saying.
First time since the year Kevin Bowen was born. Looks like we'll have it here in 2025 of a state producing, the state of Indiana producing 2 finalists. Rare air indeed.
How much do you think team record matters? Because like I said, the best player is Jeremiah Love.
I think it should matter to a degree, but yes, Love is the best player in college football. Period. I thought Matt Weaver pointed out a really accurate statement earlier with us. It's not a very Heisman-y year. You know, when you look at numbers like Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty put up last year, even quarterback-wise, I thought I read somewhere, I don't know if Mendoza is on pace to get there or not. Mark, will you look up how many passing yards Fernando Mendoza has? I thought I read somewhere where it could be the first time ever we don't have a 3,000-yard passer win the Heisman. Now
he's currently at 2,641.
641? Well, I guess he's got 2 more games.
Like
right?
He's not. Yeah, he should. So get there. It's a possibility.
He should, but you know, again, we're used to college quarterbacks putting up 4,000 yards, frankly, for Heisman Trophy winners there. So yeah, that would be something also to keep an eye on. All right, let's give our picks. Colts and Texans coming up here in Week 12.
I'm rolling with the Colts. They're going to get back on track against the number 2 scoring defense in the NFL, only giving up about 16 points a game. I say the Colts win 24-20.
Mark Dykton? And by the way, the spread, I think, is 3.5 here.
I'm right on that spread.
Drop.
Oh, has it climbed?
I thought it climbed. I could be wrong.
I'm looking up right now. Yes, indeed, Mark. 4.5. Over-unders 44.5 there. So a climbing spread favoring the Colts.
Okay, so we said at the bye week, the level of difficulty in the schedule is going to ramp up. The Texans are getting C.J. Stroud back. Nico Collins has torched them in the past. Houston defense is playing on another level. I'm growing concerned about this Colts offensive line and Daniel Jones's play. I still think they split the season series with the Texans. However, I think Houston gets the edge on Sunday, and the Colts drop their 3rd game in the last 4. Texans 27, Colts 23.
Interesting there from Mark Dykton. The Colts have been much better at home this year. That's something that I want to point out. I think 6 points better at home than on the road this year. Better yard per carry team, better yard per attempt team. And I just think you have to stay away from the game-wrecking moments. And if you can do that, I really think Will Anderson Jr. and or Danielle Hunter will have to single-handedly make a 7-point type of play for the Texans to pull that off. I'm going to say 2016 Colts. I really don't trust Houston's run D, and I still am not sold on their offensive line. Now, the Colts pass rush, that remains to be seen, but I think if you're able to blitz C.J. Stroud enough there, you're able to make some plays. But boy, if it went the way that Mark is saying, it'd be quite the clinching as we get back in studio here coming up on Monday. Reminder, the Colts responding from the Rams loss, very emphatic. in that response was, I think it was Raiders the very next week. The Steelers loss, that Falcons game easily could have gone the other way. But, I'll go Colts 2016, which I guess I am predicting the lowest score for the Colts in a home game all season long with that.
I believe that they've scored 20 in all of their losses, so you're saying they're going to score 20 in a win.
Yes, 20. Their season low was on Sunday, right?
Yep.
Kansas City. 29 is their low at home this year. Iron Eagle J.J. Watt on the call of this one. Again, still need concussion protocol clearance from C.J. Stroud, so that'll be something from a Houston side of it to keep in mind, and then we'll keep you updated Colts-wise. They'll go walk through today, have an earlier practice tomorrow morning, go a little bit later on Friday. So just a little bit of juggling here with the Thanksgiving holiday.
I will say, as far as entertainment value goes, we got some great games on the tap.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a really good slate. I mean, Mark, I think your Bears might be involved in the game of the week. Bears-Eagles coming up on Friday. And the Eagles a little banged up, right? Saquon Barkley, a little iffy.
They're a little banged up. They're infighting a lot, and that offense has kind of been like here and there. So, I don't know. Bears are banged up on defense big time, but we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to that game. More than I thought I would heading into the season.
So, again, to try and lay out what we've got here upcoming, Pacers tonight, 7:30. Obviously, the 3 Thanksgiving games tomorrow. Friday, we'll have the odd classes for the IHSA football state finals. You'll have Purdue basketball in action Friday afternoon at noon. You'll have Butler in action Friday afternoon at 2. You'll have the Bucket game at 7:30. Shifting to Saturday, you'll have IU Hoops at noon on Saturday. Pacers Bulls coming up. Pacers will have 2 games, Friday and Saturday, both at home. And, of course, we'll get you set 9 o'clock with our coverage beginning on Sunday for the Colts and the Texans. Boys, have a great Thanksgiving.
You as well.
Same to you. Gobble, gobble.
Safe travels to both of you. Is that right?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Going to see the family.
Can't wait to deal with that traffic later today. That should be fun.
And obviously, a sincere safe travels to everybody out there. Thanksgiving, one of my favorite holidays, and I think the meaning of it certainly is a huge, huge reason why. So very, very thankful for a lot of things this time of year. So greatly appreciate that. Hope you can share in the celebration with family and friends. Safe travels. Stay tuned to us. We'll have your coverage all weekend long on your various commutes. Everybody have a great, great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.